Hello, everybody. I believe we are live. Looks like audio is good. Hopefully everything's going as it's supposed to. Oh, I left the bathroom door open. Let's get up and close that. I don't know why it matters. It really doesn't. Anyway, welcome. Tonight I am going to be working on adding the highlights and additional detailing that we needed on this guy. And then we're going to glaze the color, which is going to be fun because it's so fast. And it's just the easiest, seriously, the easiest way to paint, doing things in two tones, whether it be black and white or raw sienna. Oh, I did not turn off auto. Hold on, let me fix this. It's going to keep auto focusing. I missed that. Easel, edit. So a couple things before we get started. If you are looking for straight out art lessons, none of me rambling about dogs or Holbein colored pencils or whatever my current rant is, English is hard. I need more caffeine. Patreon or Subscribestar are going to be better fits for you. Either one, it's the same thing on both platforms. But with that, it's just straight lessons. There's no, I can't multitask. Autofocus off. Apply. Okay, and we are good. Fix that problem. Anyway, with Patreon, that's just the lesson. It's just we're start to finish the art lesson, not what this is an artist hangout. This is a chance that I get to hang out, chat with you guys about whatever we want to talk about, art related, not art related. More often than not, I think it's not art related, but this is why what this live stream is. So those handful of you who are going to leave comments when you watch it after the live stream, you talk too much. That's what this is. It's hard to have an artist hang out when no one's talking. It's very awkward. So anyway, just throwing that out there. If you are looking for just straight tutorials, this isn't it for you. So today last week we did the layout. Now this has a very bluish tint, at least it looks like right now, the way the lights are hitting this. It's just straight black and white. You could have done your underpainting in raw sienna I guess that would have worked too, but raw umber and white, brown, any tone, and like just the two tones like that will give you a similar effect. Now, I would not recommend going black and white. Somebody brought this up last week and I didn't even think about that. I would not recommend going black and white if your goal was to have like a yellow flower. Maybe if I can desaturate this a bit, that'll help. So that would be one reason I might choose, I might choose black and white. Like in this case, I want kind of a bluish blush color for my rose, and then I'll have the background be teal and green. So black and white was perfect. But if I wanted yellow tones, very warm tones, black and white's probably not going to be the easiest choice. In that case, one of your brown tones is going to be more likely a better fit for you. So let me see if I can adjust. No, I keep hitting the wrong thing. No, not that. That. Edit that. My hand looks super oversaturated here. Let's see if I can fix that up. Oh, it's not even in focus. I'm having all kinds of, I'm glad I noticed this before we got too far. Oh, even more out of focus. That looks about right. And then my saturation looks like it's a little, that looks better. I think that looks more accurate. We'll see. Okay. Thank you, Sneaks. They're roses. You can't really tell though. Well, they're upside down. They're two little roses on those. Let's see. Yeah, Nick said we hang out, we chat, ask questions. It's all good. Yes. Okay. Sarah said, do you record your voiceovers in one sitting or do you record them in multiple sessions over the course of a few days? One sitting. If I've done it in multiples and it's soul draining. I just want to get it done with. I'm going to sit down and get it done. I may take a break to eat because sometimes my stomach will start. I usually will do that first thing in the morning. I don't eat first thing in the morning. I just have coffee. And about an hour into recording, my stomach will start growling and I know that's picking up on the mic. So I have to stop and go eat and then I'll come back and, but yeah, let's see. Hi, Leah. Fine Art Studio said, I set the alarm for YouTube to alert me when you went live. Do you think they did? Luckily, I didn't miss too much. They're horrible about notifying people. And I'm hearing that from a lot of people are just not getting notifications. One of the things that was kind of infuriating. Oh, side note, can you see? Look at the cute frog. I had to zoom in a lot. So baby tree frog on his, sorry. Anyway, The baby Murlocs are doing great. No, they sent me a thing on, like they give you your analytics. And one of my analytics from not this last video, the one before, was that I was getting less views because they weren't sharing it with as many people. Well, that's super freaking helpful because I have no control that you're not sharing it with as many. I was just like, the way it was worded was like, are you serious right now? Like, that's okay. Okay. Let's see. Scrolling down, there we go. Okay. Yay, coffee. So also, another quick thing I want to throw out is I'm feeling these brushes. This one is getting really stiff and not holding its shape. This one's really, I don't know if you can really see in the video, but this is soft and or harder and frayed. Same brush. They're just, I think they're both number 4s too. That one has no writing on it. Oh, there it is. Yeah, they're both number 4s. Synthetic or tack bristled filberts. And I went through because my brushes were in such poor condition recently. I put a link in the video description just under brush cleaner. I think it's the Old Masters, or I think it's called the Old Masters, the brush cleaner that I use. It's this little jar and you just like with soap and it's a soap and a conditioner. And this brush was just hard as a rock. Like I could use it as a palette knife and it's completely soft again. It's so nice. My favorite brush cleaner. I've used pink soap. I don't like it. It works, but it's not my favorite. This one is just absolutely amazing. I mean, any brush cleaner is better than none, but this one, it does condition your brushes. They're so nice and soft again. And they were in real, like I had some brushes that I've not been taking care of them. So just want to throw that out. If you are having trouble with your brushes, like I am regularly, because I don't clean them like I should, that stuff is absolutely amazing. Daniela said, absolutely loved your recent sea turtle painting. Oh, there we go. Can't wait to watch the full lesson on Patreon. Patreon newcomer. Nice, yay. Yeah, I didn't realize too how many of my older paintings I thought I had already on YouTube and I don't. So I'm going to start putting in some highlights here. I was really surprised when I started looking through. I'm like, no, I've made an edited video of that and I hadn't. So yeah, I've got a lot to catch up on getting some videos up. I was really surprised that one hadn't, like, I don't know how I missed that one. And the one of you guys mentioned was it last week or the week before, wanted to know when I was going to put the bee that I recently did, or it was done over a year ago, but the bee that I posted recently on YouTube, when I was going to do that, I'm thinking, I posted that a long time. No, I did not. I did not post that. So yeah, sometimes I just need a little reminder. Hi, Cindy. She said, my husband put you in his calendar to remind me to watch tonight. Nice. How can we find out about jury exhibitions? Any ideas? So there are a few ways. One, if you've got a local art guild, and it might be hard right now because people are not having a lot of the meetings and stuff in person, but if you've got a local art guild, that would be the first place I would start. You've got to be careful with online exhibitions because I do think that there are a lot of scams out there. There are good ones. There are a lot of scams. So that, just be aware of who does the company or what you're doing with have a name for themselves. Although, like I'm going to be I'm the jury judge. I don't know. I get to judge artwork for an upcoming, I think it's going to be in, what is it? It's an animal art. I need to link it in the video. And they asked me just last week to do it, to be their judge for it's animal art in, I think, every medium, I'm pretty sure. And I could be wrong on that. And it's, the benefits go to two. One I think is a Doberman rescue and one is a shelter. So it it's just an awesome thing. There are some prizes for some pencils. I think one was like a partially used set of some pencils, whatever. The money, the entry fees are going to a really good cause. So even like, that's the kind of thing I would be interested in entering because, like, even if you don't win, because, you only get a couple of winners in an art show, your money is still going to a really good cause. So something like that, if you can trust the source, is really cool. I need to let you guys know about that. I'll have to post in the groups, on that one. I just found out about, or they just asked me to do that last week. But stuff like that can be good, especially if you, like I said, if it's benefiting a really good cause, that's really cool. But there are there's one art competition to be in this person's book, and you pay for the chance to be in the book. And then if you get in the book, you pay to buy the book. And it's like, oh, but all this exposure. Yeah, but the only people buying the book are the other people who are in the book, you didn't win. Like, that's not really like an award. That person is benefiting or making money off your work. And a lot of people get into that sort of thing. And I don't like that one. But yeah, that's kind of a crazy one. But if you've got an art guild in your city or an art group, see if you can find something like that. Contact your local city. They should be able to tell you if they've got something like that already, if there's a group. Other than that, I'm not sure. Just trying to think where they advertise, because it's been, I mean, I really haven't been doing art shows like that, or I haven't entered art shows in like 20 years. It's been a really long time. So I don't know. I mean, at the time, a lot of it was word of mouth and through other artists that, like, from the art clubs that I was in. So, or artist guilds. So if you can find one of that, I think that that's probably your best bet. Fine Art says, I want my art to be like you are. I want my art to be like you are looking into it, not at it. I've used high contrast values, but still don't achieve the level of depth I'm after. Any advice? So there's a lot of different ways that you can achieve depth. One, out of focus background, really in focus foreground. So the depth can be achieved that way. Another reason or way could be by your values. Are you using like cooler colors in the backgrounds, blues and stuff that, you know, typically cooler tones, and then warm up towards yellows as you move towards the foreground can be a way that the contrast of colors. The contrast of size, obviously, smaller in the background, less detail in the background still. Those are the main two things I use are going to be my color choices. So it's, you know, it gets warmer and brighter as you move forward. It's a bit more dull as you move back. Now, there are exceptions, because if you've got a sunset or something like that, you may have something super bright in the background. There are always exceptions to everything, but those are kind of easier ways, I guess, to achieve that. But the biggest one, I would say, like, just when I'm thinking off the top of my head of paintings that I've seen that did not have the depth, more often than not, they were trying to put the same amount of detail, like the brushstrokes had the same harshness in the background as the foreground. And that's really not going to give you that nice, you know, that depth, getting that blurry, getting it out of focus. And that doesn't mean that you can't have complicated backgrounds. It just means that the edges, the detailing isn't as sharp, if that makes sense. Whereas like up close, I've got sharp, crisp edges in the background. They're going to be more soft. I mean, this isn't the best example, but that is a big way. And then of course the color, but I would say that somewhat out of focus, softening your edges. Again, you can still have detail. You can still see what's in the distance. You can tell it's a tree. You can tell it's a building, whatever, but it's softer. And the color is the further back I go, my color starts to get to where my subject, so let's say I have buildings in the background, they get to where they're a similar color to my sky, or a similar color, like everything starts to kind of be very similar. The contrast isn't as high. So I'm going to tone that down a bit as I move back as well. Those are just some things I can think of off the top of my head. Leah said, girlfriend, talk on. I learned so much from you. Grateful for you teaching us like you do. Oh, thank you. Jeanette said, hi, Lisa. About the brush cleaner, do you use different cleaners for your oil brushes and acrylic brushes? Well, with the oils, I also use my Mona Lisa odorless mineral spirits. I do that first, and then when it dries, I use the same brush. And it's the same container. I don't even have two separate ones. Mine's a big, huge one. The one I linked is like a little normal person size. Mine's this huge tub that lasts for years and years, but I use it for oils and, well, probably wouldn't last that long if I used it often enough, but that's the one that I use it for oils and acrylics out of the same tub, and it's no problem. It's a hard soap, so it just washes off like any residue. Do I ever use a medium instead of water to glaze? What determines? So we will be talking about that. I do have my medium right here. Glazing Medium from Liquitex is the one that I use, and I am going to use some of that tonight. And the main reasons that I will use it is if I want to get a little bit more depth in the piece. So usually grapes are the main thing that I will do that on. But you can use water or the Glazing Medium. The Glazing Medium makes it dry a bit faster, so that's a huge negative for me. And it's thicker, like really thick, like annoying as I'm applying it because it keeps wanting to dry too fast, but because it's thick, the light refracts through a little bit different, and I feel like you do get a little bit more depth using Glazing Medium versus water when you're doing this much glazing. Now, normally I prefer just water. I just like the Glazing Medium changes the texture or the consistency of the paint to a way I don't love. But on something like this where I'm just glazing over everything, then it's kind of worth the negatives, I think. But if I was trying to do detailing and like portraits, if I'm doing a portrait, I'm not using glazing medium. It's just, it dries too fast is one of the biggest things for me. So just coming through here, throwing on some of these highlights. You've got to remember when we glaze over it, these highlights are going to get toned down a lot. So we want pretty high contrast here, higher than what we want that end result to be, because this is going to be muted so much. Well, not so much. It depends on how thick we put it on there, but it will be muted quite a bit when we glaze over it. So the darks won't look quite as dark. The lights won't look quite as light. So you want to keep that in mind on this layer so that we go a little bit more bold here, knowing it'll be muted a bit. Alana said, to say that I'm excited about the watercolor octopus Patreon video is an understatement. I love octopi. Octopuses. Yeah, octopuses is the correct term, which sounds weird. So much. We're going to do another watercolor art chat soon. Yeah, we're going to need to. I drew out tonight before this. I got everything drawn because I drew my design on, if you're on Instagram, I posted it there, maybe. I drew my design on my Wacom tablet, and then once it was drawn there, that way I could do all my erasing, delete things if I didn't like it. It makes it really easy to make those sorts of changes when you're doing something surreal. Then I used my projector to project it tonight onto the paper and drew it out with my graphite. So yeah, I am starting tomorrow. I'm ridiculously, if I have energy after this tonight, I might start tonight. I don't know. I'm like weirdly both excited and a little bit nervous because I've wanted those watercolors for so long, and I'm like, I don't want to waste them. I'm doing the same thing I tell you guys not to do, and I'm not going to waste them. I'm not going to let that override my, the fear of not doing well with them or whatever, and I'll do fine. I mean, it's just another medium. It follows the same art rules as far as design and contrast and all of that, but yeah, I'm excited. I think maybe part of it too, I just feel a lot of pressure because I really like the design I came up with. I should have gone with something easy like a cherry or something basic to start with, but I'm excited about the design and I don't want to mess that up. And, I want to do that justice. And I've been talking about these watercolors for so long that I think added a bit of pressure too. Now here, I am barely putting pressure on my brush and it's working almost like a rake brush. See how I've got lots of little brush strokes in here from one brush stroke. I've got little streaks and that's good. I'm getting a little bit of detail. I'm gonna follow the curve of that flower and I'm gonna leave those in there. And the way that I'm getting that is just having not too much water, not too much paint, but enough that it shows up on my brush, and I'm barely letting the tips or the bristles touch the canvas. And so the bristles are kind of fraying a little bit and that's giving me that look. Alf said, hello, I'm new to this and always wondered whether to start with the background first. It depends on what you're doing. If I'm doing an acrylic painting, I will always start with the background because I paint the entire background and then paint my subject over that. So that isn't always for me. With really, I personally almost always do the background first just because I don't enjoy that part. I just want to get out of the way, get it done with. And it also makes it, I find, a bit easier for me to judge my values when I get onto the part that I care about, or that I more care about, I should say. So I almost always do. I can't think of a time where I don't paint the background first, but acrylics are really the only one that I would say always, like that would be, if I'm working with a student, I am always going to have them paint the background first, just because the way we layer with acrylics. Every other medium, you can go with whatever you want to paint or draw first. It's not a huge deal. But yeah, for me, I like to do the background first. Plus, if I get a little messy, if something like overlaps onto the subject, I don't have to redo the subject. I haven't done it. I haven't painted it yet. And usually if I'm messy, it's going to be on the background. So I can easily fix anywhere where I got paint where it wasn't supposed to be. Daniela said, I finally received my pan pastels that were on back order for the last month. I can't wait to try them out. How often should I spray with a fixative throughout the working in the medium? Oh gosh, I don't know how often. Pretty much when I think about it, like if I take a break where I've got a whole lot of pastel on it and I'm going to take a break, I'll just spray it then. Or if it starts to smudge a bit more than what I want it to, the pastel or the fixative will help it to stay put a little bit better. That would be an indication if I'm like, it's just, everything's just blending together or it's falling off my sanded paper, it's not sticking that well, then I'll go ahead and spray then too. Yes, the background will be getting glazes too. Are you licking your feet, Wade? You're making little weird sounds over there. Let's see. Yeah, I love Dobermans. I would want one. That is a breed I was interested in, but they have a heart defect. It is very common in the breed in all lines, unfortunately. And they will be playing one day and everything is good, and then they have a heart attack and die. I just would be so worried all the time. I mean, you guys see, I'm sitting here watching my frogs eat. Can you imagine if I was worried about the health of my dog? Like, it would be even worse. So I'm way too neurotic for that, and parent, like, oh my gosh, something bad's going to happen. So, and I've known of enough people that had it happen with their dogs. That concerns me. And I just love the breed, but because it was a breed I was seriously considering. I'm like, yeah, between that and they don't build up from vaccines a tolerance to parvo like other breeds do when you vaccinate them. So that's a bit of, it's not a, I mean, the area I live in now wouldn't really be an issue. Where I used to live in Southern California, parvo was like, it was bad. So that was a big concern. I don't know if that's changed or if the vaccines have changed over the years, but I know back when I worked at an animal hospital, that was always a concern with Dobies and Rots. Was it Dobies, Rots? I think there was one other breed I can't think of right now. Maybe it was just those two. They just didn't develop the immunity when you vaccinated them like other breeds did. So those are the reasons that I didn't get one. But oh my gosh, I love them. I want one. Yeah, you know what? I like Rusty, that is exactly right. He said, it's not the winning, talking about the art shows, it's not the winning, it's the fact that the art shows make us paint, or make you paint, makes us paint. Exactly. See, that's one of the things that I did really like. When I used to do art shows, one of the things I loved was painting something with the goal of making it my best that I can enter. Not necessarily I'm going to win, but I want to present my best work. And it was just, almost like having an assignment. I had to come up with something creative, something that was going to be unique, that wasn't like everybody else's. I just enjoyed that aspect of it for sure. But I found when I was younger, I would go into it with the attitude, I'm going to win. You don't have fun that way. Art is just subjective. It doesn't mean you didn't do a good job. It just means it's subjective. And in my case, I was very young, honestly. My work did not compare with a lot of the work that was there at the time I was doing some of these shows. Man, some of these artists, and that was always one of the things too that would drive me crazy. I would see these artists that were phenomenal and they never won either. It was always the abstract stuff that won at the shows that I was doing. Very abstract, impressionistic, not the same. So that was always frustrating to me. I'm like, oh my gosh, realism and surrealism, because that's mainly what I did at the time, surrealism and underwater scenes, seascape stuff. It's like that stuff never won awards. I did win an award for that stuff at Catalina Island, but that made sense because the venue I was at was ocean themed and this was Catalina themed, and so it made sense that I would do well in that setting. But yeah, I found I didn't enjoy them when I wanted to win. I mean, you always want to win, but if you have this, like when you're looking around going, wow, my stuff is actually superior technique wise, design wise, I have a chance. It's not going to be fun because you're probably not going to like it. It's not. Yeah. That's a little further. It's kind of like dog shows. You may have a dog that is breed standard wise correct, but for whatever reason, all the other breeds there all the other dogs in that breed had a certain fault. The judge will see that fault and be like, that maybe it's not the same with art, but be like, that fault they all have it. That must be what's normal. And the dog that's correct looks different, so that one doesn't get to win. So you always kind of wondered with some of these shows. Yeah, I definitely did not have fun when I did it for, I would say, the wrong reason. I did it trying to win, and not everybody, I mean, it's great. It's awesome when you do win. I mean, that is a feeling that I can't even begin to explain. But I didn't have fun when I expected to win or when I thought I'd have a chance, I guess. It wasn't fun. Jacqueline said, I love your work, Lisa. Thank you. When you clean your brushes with a special soap, do you soak them at all? I use hot water. So you're not, okay. I should explain this. You're not supposed to use hot water because the theory is it can loosen up. There's glue holding the bristles in place. My brushes are cheap. They're not going to get, and I've never had the glue loosen up and fall out ever on one of these using hot water. I've had it with cold water on really cheap, on these type of brushes. These cheapy, like there's not even a name on it. It says 8. That's as much information as you get. I've had where the whole, like, oh, here, look, this one's doing it. This whole thing is like coming out, but it's never been washed in hot water. Like, I don't even wash this brush. Wow, I really have not washed this one. But I've only had that happen on those. On these type of brushes, I use hot water and that soap, and it's fine. Now, I have let it dry like this. I'll lather it up so it has like that much soap on it. that's paint, but it would look like that with the soap. And then once it dried, let it set overnight or whatever, and then wash it again in the morning on things that were really stubborn, that I really like, I neglected for way too many uses. That has saved a lot too. But the hot water, I don't mean like boiling water. That would be crossing a line. Very bath water. I could take a bath in that temperature of water. That works well for me. But you don't want to soak them like in a cup. So that's the problem too. You can't really soak them, because if you soak them, the brush is hitting and resting on the bottom of the cup. If it rests on that, you're damaging, even if it's for 30 seconds, you're damaging those bristles in a way that the paint is like worse than the paint not being cleaned off. You are really screwing up to where those bristles are like, I'm never not going to be spread out like this now. So you never want to like leave it soaking in a cup or anything like that. Janet said, I'm so excited to watch you do this. Thinking glazing is my favorite. I love how it comes to life when you add the color. Me too. And it makes it so much easier. Even like right now, all I'm worried about are my values. I don't have to worry about color. I don't have to worry about any of that. All I'm concerned with are getting these values in there in my shapes about where I don't care if they're exact, but you know, about where what I want them to be. It makes it so much easier. Yeah, you guys are talking about tails, long tails, keep cleaning off coffee tables. That's one thing that's super nice with greyhounds. Their tails are always carried very, very low. Even when they wag them, they don't hit anything with it. So it's just because it's way easier than a lab, that's for sure. Or Great Danes. Oh my gosh, that's like a baseball bat. Their tails are way happy. Let's see. Steiner said, have you done a video on acrylics with all the supplies you currently use and how to use them? I want to try acrylics someday, but I don't want to get the wrong supplies. No, but I did a long time ago, but the current like supplies that I use are all on my website. If you go to lachri.com, the top links under supplies, go down to acrylics and it'll all be listed there. Rachel said, have you ever tried the Golden brand glazing medium? I've not. I want to. Apparently it also slows the drying time of your paint. Just wondering of your thoughts on this. I need to try that. Actually, hold on. I need to start making lists of stuff to buy. Do I have a pen or a pencil? Or all I have over here are white colored pencils. That's helpful for making notes. Golden, you said they're glazing medium. I want to try a few more of their supplies. I really like their airbrush paint, so I would like to try more of their acrylics on their own are too glossy for the way that I work. But when I talked to some of their representatives, they said if I add a matte medium to it, it'll be more like the Liquitex Basics. So I do want to give it a try. We'll see. Let's see. DC Painting said, can you use Derwent Inktense blocks or pencils first as a background and then use your polychromos or luminance on top and still be archival and quality? Love your techniques. Thank you. Sort of. Okay. So one, like not even worrying about being archival. Yes, it would be archival as far as you're putting a wax or oil base on top of the water base. You could not do the reverse. The problem is with Inktense, there's some questions on their light fast ratings. So Derwent themselves have said, I mean, they give you their light fast ratings and some of them are light fast, very light fast, except they don't know. They said they've not tested. They're not sure once you add water. I don't know if that's going to affect it. And in that case, I'm just not comfortable selling my work with that. So putting colored pencils on top of it isn't going to change that, because let's say I used a color that's not light fast. We'll say a certain, like a ultramarine blue or something that wasn't light fast. And I put that down and then I put colored pencil on top. I've heard people claim or think that the colored pencil they put on top is going to protect that ultramarine blue or whatever blue underneath. No, not really. Not enough to be noticeable, because that blue is going to fade. Now you're back to almost white paper. And so the colored pencil, what it looked like when it was on top of blue, when this blue fades to white, that just changed what the colored pencil on top looked like. And it's not like that is going to make it now not light fast. That's not how it's not how it works. So that is definitely a concern for me, just because Derwent hasn't been able to tell us, like, once water is added, is it still light fast? We just don't know. So I just don't sell anything that I've done with Lightfast. I will give it away. Like I gave some recently, somebody had bought some paintings from me and I threw in a couple because I was late on getting it to them because I had to varnish it. It took me forever. So I threw in a couple of extra pieces and some of those were Inktense because it's free. Like I won't sell it, but I will give it as gifts. So with me, if I'm going to do something with Inktense, it's worth doing because, oh, I just lost my reference photo there. Computer went to sleep. It's worth using Inktense because people have been like, why would you use Inktense? Because it's a fast medium. I can get so much done so quick and it photographs beautifully and it's just a joy to work with. That sounds so cheesy, but it is. I love working with it, but it's a fast medium. Like I won't tolerate non-light fast colored pencils. Colored pencils are a slow medium. If I do something with that, I need to be able to sell that original. With Inktense, it's worth it to me because it's fast. It's really fast. So in comparison to colored pencils. So that is kind of how I look at that. But as far as being archival with like, you're putting a wax or oil-based pencil on top of a water-based base, yes, that is fine. Now, on the flip side, colored pencil doesn't stick that well to Inktense. Inktense, I don't know what it is about it, but like the pencils, when I played around with that, it sticks, but not amazingly well. Like it's just not my favorite. If I'm going to do mixed medium, it's not going to, I would do watercolor as my base, no problem. But Inktense has, the way that it dries, it's a little bit weird for getting something to stick on top of it. It works, but not as well as it could. Thank you, Tracy. Leah said, for the background, instead of using an airbrush like you say that you can always paint it, how if we wanted to paint the circles like that, then the paint with water or medium? So if you wanted to do this without an airbrush, it is not going to look like this. That is very unique to an airbrush. But you could, and I have a video, it's not something that I can easily explain. I'd need to show you, and obviously I already did this, I can't show you. There's a video on, it's a bird that I did, and the background is with pink, like pinks and greens, where I showed you a method that you could use for that. So yeah, you could build this up wet into wet, but it's not, just be aware, it's not going to look exactly the same. Close enough, yeah, close enough that it still will be beautiful. It just has a very different look to it. But yeah, no, I have a video showing how to do that, and I can't think of what it's called. I should have linked that. That would have been a good thing to include on this, with this one. I know I have it there. I think it's just look up acrylics and bokeh and it should come up on you. Lachri acrylics bokeh, it should come up. But the colors you're looking for are very greens and pinks for that background. And it has a bird on it. Nick said, I have a hard time when breeding results in a physical disassociation from the species, mine notwithstanding, where a breed ends up manifesting certain genetic ailments. I do too. Like pugs pretty much all have to have surgery, and certain breeds with a really flat nose have to have surgeries in order to be able to breathe. We went too far. Back that crap up. Like that is too far of when your breeding is harming, like, well, in the case with the Dobermans, I don't even know what the solution is because they're saying that that defect is in every single Doberman line right now. You can't find a Dobie who doesn't have that in its genetic makeup, which sucks. Because I was like, well, maybe a certain breeder wouldn't have it. Nope. And they think, the theory is that there was just too much line breeding. People didn't want to outcross and they ended up creating problems. So I don't know if that's true. I don't know how many studies have been done. That's a theory on why that genetic heart defect is what it is. But pugs not being able to breathe, God, Pekingese, they can be a problem with not being able to breathe. And they have to do surgery on pugs. Almost every person I know of who has a pug has had to have the surgery that makes it so the dog can comfortably breathe. That's not okay. That is not, like, it's one thing if it was a random one-off, but when it's like every dog, like German Shepherds right now, one of the problems with them, when I worked at the animal hospital, and this was 20 years ago, so I can only imagine it's worse. Every single person that brought in a German Shepherd, by the age of 2, it had hip dysplasia. Every freaking one. And it's like, okay, we're breeding them to an extent that is not, that you went too far on certain, yeah, stuff like that I definitely have an issue with. Yeah, that's not okay. I mean, at least with the pugs, there's a surgery that can be done to make them more comfortable, but that shouldn't even need to be the case. But hip dysplasia, that's pretty painful for the dog's life, and especially if it's starting at 2 years old, that's unacceptable. Let's see. MM Fine Art Studio said, I work at doggy daycare and one of our Danes gave a coworker a bloody lip with his tail. Oh my gosh. Sarah said, to the person asking how to create depth, another thing I would suggest is to have less space in between objects farther away than they're supposed to be from the viewer. Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's just a perspective thing. It took me a minute. I'm like, huh? What? Yeah, no, you're right. Nick said it's a complicated failure when the dogs are bred strictly for certain unusually exaggerated physical traits. And that's the problem. Whenever we go too, I guess that could be said for anything in this world. When you go too extreme, it's not you took it too, you went too far. What's the biggest colored pencil piece I have done? I think 16 by 20. Am I wrong on that? I think a 16 by 20. I usually don't go super large on colored pencil because it's really slow. I did a 16 by 20 tiger. Well, the first time I did a 16 by 20 with colored pencil, I was like, never again. I'm never painting something this big again. And that was before, when I use the airbrush, it's not as big of a deal for the background, but without, oh my gosh, doing a background on a 16 by 20 is long. Linda said, just got my Words Are Hard t-shirt. Oh my gosh, that's awesome. I'm so excited. Thank you for being a great teacher and wonderful person. You have made this hard time so much. Oh, thank you so much. I was going to wear my sweatshirt. I wore it yesterday for a little while. Yeah, it has chicken poop on it. I had to take that back off and wash it because thanks, chicken. But if you're unaware, some people are like, why would you have, what? My cockatiel's name is Chicken. He's my shoulder chicken. And he was leaving me gifts on my sweatshirt. Where do I sell my original paintings? Off my website. For me, just off my website, but I don't push really hard to get sales on my stuff. So I think that that's kind of important. I think if I were really pushing to get sales, I would be listing on eBay again, or possibly Etsy, maybe. I don't know if Etsy's gotten any better. Some of you guys have told me they have not. Back when I was originally, that was how I made more of my money, was with selling, or I put more effort into it. Etsy was not very good, but you just got lost in the crowd and it got very expensive to constantly relist your art. Because it wasn't like eBay. With eBay, whatever ends soonest would be at the top of the list. And with Etsy, whatever was most recently listed is at the top of the list. So you have to relist like every day and pay a new fee every day in order to keep at the top. So Etsy was very dirty with that. But, and Etsy's full of mass-produced crap from China, not all handmade stuff like it's supposed to be. Etsy knows, they just don't freaking care. They're making money off it. They don't care. So like handmade is a requirement, but it's not for a lot of the stuff on there. So you're competing with that. I mean, you compete with that on eBay too. It was just Etsy was getting very expensive for all of those listing fees, which was really annoying. But anyway, for me personally, I sell off my website and word of mouth. Jay said, do you think that the UV light fast sprays like the one from Krylon would help keep a potentially not light fast medium archival? I think it will help. I don't think it solves the problem. So I would put, let's say with Inktense, I recommend the people I've given it to, a friend of mine has one of mine, the Red Panda that I had done. That one I sprayed with Krylon, and then it's behind UV protecting glass, and it's not faded in, is that like 6 years old, 7 years old? And it's not faded at all in that amount of time. But I would still recommend using those, yet it wouldn't make me comfortable enough to go ahead and sell them myself. But keep in mind, I am a bit neurotic when it comes to what I find acceptable for selling. Part of that is because back when I used to do art shows and like the outdoor art festivals, I thought I would save money on, I thought it was the same thing, linseed oil from the hardware store. Yeah, not the same thing. About 6 months after I painted these pieces, and it worked the same. So I'm like, oh, it is the same thing, and it's so much cheaper, because I was doing the starving artist thing, trying to save some money. This is why I'm so like, don't try to save the money, it's not worth it. About 6 months later, and so several of these pieces had maybe 4 or 5 sold, I don't know, not that many, and I was only selling them for like $50. So we're not talking about hundreds and hundreds of dollars, but still, within about 6 months, less than a year, they bought like the linseed oil kind of came to the surface in these heavy yellowy gold orangey droplets, like started to come out of the paint. It was weird. It was not, no, don't use cheap stuff. So while yes, though the light fast, you know, putting it behind UV glass, using the Krylon spray, that can help. Because of that experience, and to this day, it's been more than 20 years, and I feel so guilty that I sold pieces that I know that happened to other people who bought them from me. If you have one of those paintings, contact me. I will replace that with something new and amazing. But I need to see photos of the artwork because I'll know which ones they were. But so no one think you're going to trick me into giving you free paintings. But I will forever feel guilty that I sold something that wasn't perfect, you know, good archival stuff. So yes, I mean, you can argue that they got what they paid for because it was a $50 painting, and you know, these weren't like, I didn't put a lot of time into these. These were paintings that I spent less than an hour on a piece. So not like super amazing, but still I feel terrible about it, and I don't recommend anybody else make that mistake with their supplies using something that's not going to be completely archival or last. So yes, the UV sprays help. The putting it behind UV glass is going to help. Not enough that I'm comfortable selling my work that I've done that with. But like I said, I'll give them away, no problem. Just not going to sell it. Try Caran d'Ache Supercolor watercolor pencils. You can go over them. I don't even have those. Brian, and you may be talking about the person who was asking with Inktense, maybe? Brian said, what is your favorite surface to paint on with oils? Hands down, oil primed linen canvas. The Belgian Frederick's Belgian words are hard. Frederick's Belgian linen from their Pro Seal series, the oil primed. That one's my absolute hands down favorite. Paint just glides across that. It is amazing. Just for transparency, because anytime I say Frederick's, I do need to let you guys know I am sponsored by Frederick's, so I don't get myself into trouble there. But and the canvas I'm painting on today, I'm sponsored by Frederick's. They did provide me with this. This is a Frederick's Nature Core paint board. You can see it's thick like a normal canvas, but the back, and we'll show you that. You can hear it's a board, a thick board. So anyway, but the oil primed Belgian linen, without a doubt, like nothing compares to that. It's so nice. Let's see. Sass said, you can do the broken circles with circular crafting sponges. It looks close. You can get them at Michael's. Interesting. Nick says, when a breed standard arbitrarily changed for popular aesthetic traits, it's not contributing to the breed. Absolutely agree. There's like Italian Greyhounds. I used to show my Italian Greyhounds, and there's a well-known breeder, and she pushes and she does judges seminars saying what's correct is for the dog to lift its arms up to the point like way too far. Okay, that's not correct for the breed. It looks fancy, but it's not correct for the breed. And when you breed for that, it screws up their alignment all the way. Like it causes it does not cause health issues. So that is, you know, it's not a big deal as far as that goes, but it looks ridiculous, and it's wasted movement essentially. And usually a dog who does that ends up crossing in the front and the back. Most of them I've seen that have the really over exaggerated lift. They're supposed to reach, they're not supposed to do the terrier lift. And so you have people who will push different aesthetics like that are not correct. And so it's like I said, it's a wasted movement. Italian Greyhounds are supposed to be able to move cleanly and move fast. And if they're throwing their arms in the air and hitting themselves in the face, they're not moving that fast. Let's see. Benedict or Cletus is starting to chirp. Yeah, Elvis said so many golden retrievers are prone to cancer. So Greyhounds too, and it's funny because Greyhounds, everyone thinks Greyhounds are the worst. No, Goldens, when they do the studies, Goldens really have it rough with genetics. I mean, it's common in most breeds now, but yeah, theirs is really rough because a lot of the Greyhound people will comment like, why is our breed as bad as it is? And it's like, it's actually not. Go talk to the Golden people. They've got it harder. Okay, sorry, itchy nose. Emily said, I used the glazing method for the first time this week, and when I glazed over the first layer, I lost a lot of contrast. I was thinking, Lisa warned me of this, and I didn't listen. But you know, that's what's awesome. You hadn't done it before, so you wouldn't have known. So even though you didn't, like when I warned you, it didn't make a ton of sense until you had it happen, and then you can be like, oh, that's why. So, you know, it's a good thing. That's part of the learning. That's kind of awesome. so often when I'm explaining stuff, it's like I know until the person experiences it, what I just explained is not going to make a ton of sense. But once you had it happen, you'll be like, oh, okay. Let's see. Oh, coffee. Hi, Kathy. Just scrolling, trying to get caught up on some of the questions. My plan is to spend another work on it for the 15 minutes, just little details and stuff, and then at 9 o'clock, go ahead and start with the color. Thank you, Shortney. There we go. Rachel said, what are your thoughts on the Frederick's red label canvases? I'm looking to upgrade from the cheap ones I've gotten at the craft store, but I can't quite afford the Pro Series. If you can get the blue label, that is ideal. The red label still has too much tooth. And so if you get the red label, that's what I started with actually with Frederick's, because that's what Michael's used to carry like 20 years ago. Put a couple of coats of gesso. I use Liquitex gesso. Put a couple coats of that and then sand it with a fine, like a 220. I say fine grit, not that fine. About a 220 or a 320 right around there grit sandpaper so that you've got a smoother surface. But the red label on their own, they'll work, but they're a little bit more rough than what I want for how I paint. Let's see. I always thought I wanted a golden until I started working at the doggy daycare and found out how much they drool. That's a big no for me. I have the same thing. Yeah, there are a lot of breeds that I love, and I like bloodhounds. Oh my God, I love bloodhounds. My mom used to breed Bassets as a kid, and that level of drool and just the slobber, and they shake their head, and now it's over the top of their face, on the back of their head, on the wall, it's everywhere. And I'm like, yeah, not for me. I'm too neurotic for that. Drawing Girl said, your live streams are so wonderful when I can't sleep. It's 3:45 in the morning. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry you can't sleep. You know what I do when I can't fall asleep? Because I have a hard time shutting my brain down. I think most of us do. But I sit and count my breaths. So just counting, like randomly counting doesn't work because I can think and count no problem at the same time. But if I count my breaths, like how many breaths as I breathe in, how many, usually that'll knock me out, usually. That's my trick for trying to get my brain to knock it off. Again, just really watching that I get more of the contrast in here, putting the heavier whites. Yep, that's definitely Cletus. He is chirping away. He can probably go in with the other dart frogs now. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, I've got two vivariums right behind me. That one and that one. Cletus is in that one. He was my first little Santa Isabel dart frog. He's about the size of my thumbnail. And I wanted to get him a bigger tank and some buddies, so that's what this tank is, but I needed the buddies when I got them. They were babies, so they've grown up enough that he can probably be with them safely without eating them, because frogs, they will eat anything that will fit in their mouth, but I don't know how to catch him. That's going to be the challenge, is figuring out how to get him into the one tank and put him in with his new buddies. Oh, my tree frogs are hunting right now. I'm watching them on the, let's see the one back here. Watching them on the night cam. They look like weird little zombies when they're in black and white like this, which is funny because they're the most colorful frog. But when you watch them on the night cam, all you see, they do look like little zombie ghost type things. Oh, getting in the food dish. Don't poop in it again. I don't know why they think that's where they need to go, but it is. Too much information. Shelly said, hi Lisa and everyone, I'm laughing here. I thought I was ready to glaze this rose, and now looking at ears, I'm redoing the entire center. Yeah, we just have to clean stuff up right now. Yeah, they're not really zombie frogs. It's just when you look at them in the night cam or thing, it makes them solid white, and then their eyes are like glowing white, which is not. Their eyes are red, and their bodies are bright lime green. I mean, what we drew Friday is what they look like. But they look like little zombies in the black and white. They have kind of a creepy look to them, which is funny because you put the lights on and they're the cutest, most gorgeous frogs you've ever seen. But in the night cam, less so. Okay, let's see. What I'm also doing right now is reshaping some of these just a bit. because my shapes were a bit odd. Never really did much to these leaves. Let's throw in some random detail. I don't care if they're good or accurate, whatever. I'm just taking a separate brush and smudging that out. That looks weird. I don't like that. If I leave that there, I need to pull the other one back out over here that I wasn't going to put in. That looks really weird by himself. That's a bit better. Okay, let's get some of the darks in there. Saz says, I downloaded a boring audiobook that is read by a delightful Brit. I'm out in 10 minutes. I've listened to a few audiobooks that'll do that to me too. Let's see. Dina said, my dog is a Newfoundland German Shepherd, Weimaraner mix. Oh my gosh. But everyone thinks she's just a giant black lab. That sounds cute though. What are you doing, Wade? He's making weird, like, sucking noises. He's asleep. He is out. He's making some odd noises over there. He talks a lot in his sleep. I mean, he's not really... Wade, wake up. That's a weird sound. You're kind of creeping me out. You're not waking up. We can tone a lot of that down with color. Let's see. Letty said, I once had an instructor say to never use white and black. If you want to use, let's say, black, he suggested using all the cool, dark, cool colors instead, like dark purple and blue. What do you think? Is it okay to use black and white? You know, people like to set rules for themselves, and then they want to set those rules for everybody else. I think it's... I'm not saying there's no merit in what he's saying. I'm saying it's art and there are no rules. And I use black paint all the freaking time. Now, the thing is, I don't typically just use flat black. I will almost always glaze another color on top. So it might be a deep violet or a blue, something else on top so that you do get that depth. And so the reason that a lot of people say not to use black is that it does dry. You're going to have a kind of flat, dull color. Now, sometimes I want that because you guys know I like to do like my damask print background. I don't want depth in what is supposed to look like wallpaper. So there are times like that. But also there are times where just why am I going to spend the time to mix all those colors to mix a black when I get pretty much the exact same thing with black and then glaze a color over it. And glazing the color over it will still look black. It just gives it a bit more depth. I can simplify that. When it comes to art, I want to simplify things. That method of mixing your own black to me is not simplifying anything. And I can get pretty much the same results. And a lot of the people who make that claim, who I've heard this, their artwork wasn't anything to get all excited about. I was not like, oh my God, this is what my work needs to look like. I'm not saying there aren't amazing artists who stick with that. I'm saying I was never so impressed that I was like, oh, I need to make that change. So, you know, pick the artist who you look at their work and you're like, okay, I love what that person is creating. You know, what tools are they using, and then maybe try that for yourself. But the other thing is, what works great for one person may not be the best thing for everybody else. So maybe while I'm able to make black work with getting a lot of depth and I like the results I'm getting, maybe you used it and didn't like it, how it was working, and you liked the other way better. There's no right or wrong with art. It's just different. It's personal preference. That's art. And you have so many people want to have so many rules that I think are like, I mean, if it works for you, great, but I would never tell somebody else, never do. Okay, actually, I do tell you guys to never soak your brushes upside down. There are a few things I will say, but there's so much phenomenal artists or artwork out there that used black that I'm like, how can you even make that claim? Because here's proof that it works just fine and it looks fine. Also, I just realized my slippers, you guys might like to see because I'm a pro and this is what I'm wearing. I'm like, look, they're bunny slippers. My mother-in-law got them for me for Christmas. I think it's a bunny. I don't know what it is. I looked down and saw them and got excited, decided I needed to share. Okay. Now, I just need this to dry a little bit more. I want to separate a couple more leaves in here, or petals. What time are we at? Oh, I'm a little ahead because I was planning right at 9 to start with the color, so we're good. The color doesn't take much time, so I was not sure how I was going to make this video or this live stream last. I can't talk. I'm like slurring, and all I've had tonight is coffee. If I'm going to slur, I may as well have some wine. But my original plan was just this whole video or whole live stream would just be the glazing, and I'm like, how am I going to make that last 2 hours? You won't believe how fast it goes once you get all this in here. So I'm just going to separate these, and I don't care if each of these petals is exact to the reference photo. It makes not a big difference. Like, I just don't care. I just want to get some variation in there, separate some of these. Yeah, so like going back to using black paint, I'm not saying the artist who doesn't, like your instructor was probably great. That was the method he liked to use. There are people who will tell you you can't get good results from Liquitex Basics, yet every single one of my best paintings was done with Liquitex Basics, and I love the results I'm getting. So, you know, it varies. It's art. There's no one right or wrong method. You've got to figure out what works best for you and what you like. You're going to have people who tell you when you work in graphite, you should never use an eraser. That was one of my favorite rules. Like, I'm sorry, what? That if you were good or whatever, that you should stop using erasers. That's like a valid technique with graphite. One that I personally love the look of, like coming back through with the Tombow mono eraser for highlights and stuff. Especially if I use graphite powder, because then that really erases well. So you will have people that have so many rules, and it's like, I don't care if you want to make that rule for yourself. It just kind of weirds me out when you start telling everybody else that you need to do the same thing. Like, there's a video out there that tells you if you learn to draw, or if you trace, or no, actually the one was even worse. If you draw or paint and learn to draw from looking at a reference photo, like a photograph, you will never ever, you damage something in your brain so that you can never freehand from life or draw from life. No, that's not a thing. I mean, congratulations on inventing some crazy freaking things. You're a flat earther, aren't you? You've got to be a flat earther. No, that's not how that works. It's a different part of the brain. Drawing from a photo is very different from drawing from life. You can do both. Like, this concept that you damaged your brain in a way that you no longer will ever be able, what? And this video has so many views, and it's the most insane, like, there are people who come up with these rules, and it's like, you are a crazy person. Like, seriously. So yeah, it's art. There's no one right or wrong way. As long as what you're creating is archival, you create it how you want. And anytime somebody starts setting these rules, never do it this way, never use black paint, never use an eraser, right off the bat, I'm like, you just discredited yourself. Like, I'm not going to listen to you now. Now I know you're not all there. Let's see. Thanks, NH Chicky, or Lynn. Just say Lynn. It's easier. Nick, imposing your rules on others never works out well. Rules for life. Let's see. Cindy said, sort of like when they say the only white paper is the white that should be visible in watercolors. Hope that makes sense. Yes. So that is one of those things that people, when I start making my watercolor videos, people are not, I'm going to have complaints because not only did I get one white, I got two whites because I know me, and I know I'm going to want to put white highlights and not just depend on the paper. I mean, yes, let the white of the paper show through. That is a very unique thing to watercolor. And I understand why they say never to use. Like, I get that it looks different. I don't care. I like white highlights. So yeah, I bought two. I got, because I wanted to see what the difference was. I got, what are these? This one is titanium opaque white, and this one is permanent Chinese white. I don't know what the difference is. I was curious, and that enough was reason to just go ahead and buy them both. So I got that to go along with my pan watercolors. So Shmike, yay, I'm excited. Or Shmika, I'm not saying it right. Anyway, like, I get why people come up with some of these rules. Like, it makes sense where they originated from. but it's art. There's not one right way. There are methods that people use, like let's say, for example, when someone works in graphite and they do highlights in another medium to get those whites out. I don't like how it looks. I like the white of the paper showing through. Personal preference. I can't tell you don't ever put white highlights on your graphite pieces. If you like the look, then that's your thing. Like that could be your style. Like that's not, there's no rule there. So yeah. But I have a feeling when I do my watercolor videos, I'm going to get thumbs down because of using my white highlight. I'm going to have to tell people, I know you're not supposed to, but if I like the look, does it matter? And I know too, because I'm going to be doing bubbles on, if you saw the design I came up with, the octopus, the red-eyed tree frog, singing robin, and a butterfly, and some roses. Yeah, that's all going in one piece. I didn't want to start small. I have this huge complicated thing that I'm going to be working on. I want to do bubbles on there, and in order to do bubbles the way that I want to, I either have to use my masking fluid. Masking fluid's a pain in the butt. There are some definite negatives to masking fluid, and while yes, I could make that work, because I'm newer to watercolor, I know I'm going to take a little bit longer than normal, which means the masking fluid would need to stay on the paper longer than normal. And the longer masking fluid stays on paper, the more likely you are to rip or have issues when you pull it off. And because I don't trust myself to do the watercolor fast enough just yet, maybe it'll take me a couple days to get that background where I want. I'm not willing to risk the masking fluid in that case. Masking fluid, if it's going to be on more than an hour, we've got some issues. So I'm going to do the white highlights for, that's, yeah. Anyway, let's see. Adriana said, so many people think that art should be measured by or done only by their certain method. It seems only narrow-minded. The rich part is to experiment and see exactly what you were just saying, what fits, and them knowing they only see the final product anyway. Yep. And this is the funny thing. I'm just waiting for this to dry and we're going to start glazing. People don't, most viewers who view the art aren't going to know the difference. Most buyers aren't going to know the difference. Have you seen what artwork people buy? They're not going to know the difference. The other watercolor artists will know, but they're probably not the ones buying the watercolor art. Like, so it's just not, most buyers, most viewers of the art are never even going to know the difference. What they notice, bold, vivid colors or whatever, colors that they're drawn to, contrast, accurate drawing, your values being correct. Those are the things they're going to notice. High contrast is one of the biggest things to get someone to stop and look at a painting. Not having used white as highlights, not going to be that thing. Like, someone's not going to be in a gallery looking at paintings going, oh, they didn't put any white highlights. They let the paper show through. I'm in love with this piece. That viewer, that buyer doesn't even, they don't notice that sort of thing. So I'm going to have thumbs down. Some people going, yeah, they do. I noticed. Okay, because you're a watercolor artist. Like that, you hear where I'm going with, like, you see how that works. So, I mean, again, most buyers, there have been art shows that I've done. And I'd have a bunch of paintings outside of this one gallery that I used to show at, Angels Galleria. They're not there anymore in the Pomona Arts Colony. But it was one of the first places I used to show my work. And I would have people walk by, and I will never forget this one woman broke down in tears. I'm pretty sure something else was going on there. But it was weird because she sees this painting and she's just crying. It just moves her and it's so perfect and everything. And it was not very good. It was one of mine. And it was not one of my better paintings. And I'm thinking, that one? You never know what the viewer is going to like. And it's probably not going to be what you as the artist liked. So, everyone's going to see something different in it. And the white of the paper showing through is not that big of a deal. The fact that you did or did not use an eraser is not normally, most people don't really care. They're not going to notice. The fact that you used black paint or mixed your own black paint, the average viewer, and again, average, there are some people who are going to be able to tell the difference, but the average viewer, the average buyer doesn't have a clue. So it doesn't make any difference to them. Anyway. Let's see. Scrolling up, we'll get caught up on these last questions or these next questions, and then we'll start glazing. Lourdes said, one upside to art classes during the pandemic is that I think my instructor rules are too strict. I can ignore them without knowing. They only see the final product anyway. Nice. Lydia said, I've noticed since the shutdown, I haven't felt like painting. Any suggestions on how to get back at the easel and to get out of this slump? Yes, stop waiting for motivation. Motivation is a fantasy. Motivation is like this fleeting nearly non-existent fairy tale. So I know that's not the word you use, but that's the word most people think of. They're kind of waiting for motivation. You need to get up and do it. You need to set a time. Tell yourself right now, okay, tomorrow, I've got some free time from 7 p.m. till 9 p.m. I'm painting. I'm going to sit at that easel. If it's random scribbles, it's random scribbles. I'm going to that easel. I'm going to sit there and I'm going. And what I like to do too is get my drawing done the day before I plan to really work, so that, because that's one of the things that I will put off. Like I'll spend an entire day picking a project and getting it drawn out and everything. So I try to get that done before the day that I'm like, I set this time aside to paint. Got to make yourself do it. Self-discipline. That's all it is. We're all in a slump. We're all dealing with, this has been a rough time for everybody. That's not going away anytime soon. Sorry to tell everybody. It is probably going to get worse coming up here. Don't wait for the feeling to come back to want to paint. Set time aside. I'm gonna get my tea or coffee or whatever you like to, wine, whatever you want to drink. I'm gonna have my special drink. I'm gonna sit here from this hour to this hour, and if I scribble, fine. If I sit and write a poem on my canvas, fine. But I'm gonna sit there and if I sit and stare at the canvas the whole time and mope, fine. But sit there, make yourself go do it. If you wait for that motivation, if you wait for that time to hit where I'm just in the mood to paint, especially right now, trust me, I'm not in the mood to paint most days. But the funny thing is, and I was telling my husband this, we were just talking about this the other day, not yesterday, the day before, whenever day I finished my sea otter. I've been doing the same thing. I'd rather kind of mess with my plants. I need to repot some stuff, and I'm getting distracted by a lot of things, just kind of not there, not feeling it. When I finally am like, okay, I set this time aside, this is when I'm gonna go work, I sit down, because it is my job, I have to do it either way. So I sit down. Once I start painting, I don't wanna stop, but you've gotta start. You just have to go sit down, set that time aside in self-discipline. Make yourself do it. It's like anything else. There are so many, I don't know what it is about art. We have in our head that you're supposed to always want to do it. You're supposed to be in the mood for art. No, it's not how it works. I would say I usually have to be kind of in the mood for the creative side when I start doing surrealism. There is a little bit of a mood in the design process, but once you start painting, that's technique. That is not, you already know what you're going to paint. And if you don't know what you're going to paint, you're having a hard time with the design process, I can't pick something, go over to Pixabay, go over to Unsplash, give yourself, I'd say 20 minutes max. You've got 20 minutes to pick something and paint it. Make yourself do it. It'll get you back in the habit and back into doing it. And so much with art, like anything else, you've got to develop the habit of, okay, this day, this time is when I always paint. Try to do that. That is going to be more, you're going to be more successful in hitting your goals of painting, of improving your art, than if you're just waiting for the mood to strike. Because I know, like working out, I am never in the mood to go on a walk. I am never in the mood to go to the gym. I don't go to the gym now, but I mean, even when I used to work out regularly, when I went to the gym, I was never in the mood. You have to have the self-discipline to tell yourself, you're going to go do this right now. This is from these hours, this is when I do it. And the funny thing is, once you get there, it's not bad. It's that like leading up to like, I'd rather go repot some plants or whatever. What brand of watercolors did you get? I got Schminke. I'm really excited about them. Leah said, bubbles, yay, it's what introduced me to my girl Lisa years ago. That video is so funny because I was very hesitant. Do I have the paint out I need? I think I do. I was very hesitant to start. Oh, wait, no, I need to mix teal because I want teal and green in my background. I was hesitant to do that video on how to paint bubbles because I was still very worried, I guess, about what people would not like my way of teaching and telling me you're doing it wrong. Well, kind of like using black paint. I'm going to have someone telling me I'm doing it wrong. And I had to get to the point where I realized, so what if they tell me I'm doing it wrong? If somebody else tells me my method that's working for me is wrong, then who's wrong in this? So I had to get over that. But that was the first painting. The bubbles video was the first like art lesson that I did, or tutorial on YouTube. And that one, I was nervous to do it. Even though it's like, I need phthalo green. Where's phthalo green? Even though I know how to paint them. I know how to teach that. I've taught that to people in person for years, but I don't think it's over here. I was super nervous on that painting. So it's kind of funny that oh, here it is. That's the one that you found or started watching. Lynn said, I left my masking fluid on for days before. Sometimes it comes off clean, sometimes not. Yeah, it's hit or miss. I've had the same thing. And it can be the same masking fluid out of the same jar on the same type of paper. And one day it's fine. And one day it's like, I just am going to eat your entire piece. Good luck starting over. Claire Feiner said, you might really like Dr. PH Martin's Bleed Proof White for very nice white highlights on watercolor. Oh, hold on. I'm going to write that down. Pencil. Here we go. Okay, that was a really long name. Dr. PH Martin Bleed Proof. I can type really, really fast. I cannot write fast. White. Okay, written down. I will look into that. Cindy said, masking fluid is like playing chess for me. Not so much. No can do. Let's see. Clark Finer said, I left masking fluid on for a couple of weeks and luckily it came off. Yeah, sometimes it came off clean. Sometimes it does for me. Sometimes, whoops. Sometimes it definitely does not. Jerry Art said, I think you can use your Inktense white on top of your watercolor. Not sure about watercolor over Inktense. Yeah, they are compatible. You can do that over, so that would definitely be a possibility. Adriana said, sometimes they buy because of what the art made them feel in the instant they see it. And that right there is honestly one of the most impactful reasons I think that somebody, oh, frog's out moving. One of the biggest reasons that a lot of people buy art is what it made them feel, a mood that it brought in, a memory that it triggered. So that is, you are absolutely right in that. They don't care how you got your white highlight. They don't even, that's the thing. Unless it's an advanced art collector, which, let's be realistic, there aren't a lot of those out there. Most people are just buying because they thought it was pretty. Or they're buying because the name the artist made for themselves. They want something by that artist because that artist is in demand and well known. It's going to impress their friends. I'm not enunciating well, I swear. There is no alcohol in that coffee, and I'm talking like there is. I need to work on my enunciations. I think I'm just tired. So this is my glazing medium. We're going to be using some of that. Oh, I didn't put my green out yet. But no, you're absolutely, I completely agree with you on that. So when I mix my teal, it is 50% phthalo green, 50% phthalo blue. There are not many things that I will ever be able to mix and tell you, like, this is the formula to use. That is one. It's like half and half, and that gives me the perfect teal color. Visions of the Heart said, hi there. Is it possible to sell paintings that you have used gold paint or have used archival paints mixed with mica powder for shimmer? Thank you so much. I don't know anything about mica powder, but I do know, like, Liquitex, their metallic paints, they just say NA, like not applicable as far as what the light fast ratings are on it. And if you go to their frequently asked questions page, it just says that the metallics and fluorescents are not very light fast. I will not sell work. Like, I have one painting that I used, I don't know if you can see it behind me. Kind of that little round one right there, which you can't see, so it doesn't really matter, but it was one of our live streams with the owl, and I used the gold paint, or no, gold Liquitex Basics on it. Not light fast, can't sell it. I painted it for me, so I don't really care, but I would not sell that. And it's weird, I don't know why the metallics aren't light fast. You would think it's metallic. Isn't there like metal in it? I don't know how they make it, but yeah, they say it's not light fast, so that's definitely, I would not sell it. And as far as what mica is, I don't know what that is, and I don't know any, like, I can't give you good information on that. Just that, like, gold paint, like my Liquitex Basics, it's just not light fast. I'm not sure if there is any that is light fast. I genuinely have no idea. So it's something that I would like to look into because it's a look that's very unique, very pretty. And I know gold is just in general very popular right now. Now on my camera, and I don't know if the camera's picking it up right, what you're seeing, that looks like it's just navy blue. It's not. It is definitely more of like a peacock blue here, or, well, teal. What are my favorite colored pencils currently? Do you still use pastel matte? I do. I love pastel matte. My favorite colored pencils, I would say my Derwent Lightfast and my Faber-Castell Polychromos. Those are my top two, and then my Caran d'Ache Luminance are behind that. I find I use my Luminance a little bit less often since I got my Derwent Lightfast. I love those. The Derwent Lightfast they say that they're an oil base, but they're somewhere in between. I would say oil and wax based. Like, it's just a nice combination of both. So I usually am using a combination of those two, and then my next favorite is my Caran d'Ache Luminance. This is doubling up some of these comments exactly for some, and I know it's doubling up on this feed because it's like the exact wording. Susan said, used magic eraser recently by mistake, picked it up instead of my kneaded eraser, took the shine right off my graphite. awesome if that's illegal art stuff. Stop assuming. That's interesting. Huh. I want to try that. That is really interesting. Yeah, you know what? And Joseph has a good point here. He said you can, talking about like the non-light fast, the issues with metallic, you can, but disclose that information to the buyer. And I think that that's important too. If the buyer is okay with it and it's like, no, I want it, I don't care. I'm mixing liquid in with, or not liquid, my glazing medium to thin this. If the buyer is okay with it and is like, no, I still want it, then that's up to them, as long as they know. And I think that's the problem, that a lot of people do not disclose that to people. I mean, there was one guy, his family ran like a church / here over in Frisco. They ran a church, that was way too much, / art gallery. It was the weirdest thing ever. But anyway, this art gallery, their son was selling his junk art. And by junk art, I mean like actual junk found art is what it was. So I'm not saying he did a bad job of it. I'm saying it was made from junk he found. And he was painting on cardboard boxes and gluing newspaper. And then he was using duct tape and things like, he had some weird like abstract type things, and he was selling them for thousands. The people who were buying them were just like, yeah, I want to buy art, and this person's built a name for himself, and so I want it. They had no idea. No one who was there buying his art that night had any idea that all of that was going to degrade. They had no clue. He was not using anything he was using. He didn't know what archival meant. So that is something that you have to, you know, I think if you disclose it to the buyer and explain to them, hey, by the way, this, you know, make sure it's, here's the deal with that, then that's one thing. But more often than not, I think the artists themselves don't even know, but they sure as heck don't disclose that. So that would be, I guess, a way around that. If you let them know and they still wanted it, then that would be fine. Rose said, out of curiosity, do you own any desert roses in your extensive plant collection? I do, and I just clipped, because they're dormant right now. Well, dormant, and then I have the spider mite thing going on. So with them, it's just easier to cut them, and I've needed to trim that one. So I have two. I have a, I can't think of the name. I've got two different types, but I have those two, and then I have some seedlings that are in my shower. I take baths, so they're in the shower, and they are dormant right now too. And then 3 more seedlings over there that are a little bit older. So the seedlings in the shower are ones I grew from seeds. So yes, I do have quite a few of them. Shelly said, I'm excited for you to use watercolor. I got Schminke a couple of months ago, and I'm enjoying learning. I used gouache for the white highlights because I like white too. Nice. Every time somebody says Schminke, Nick is over here snickering. Let's see. Luckily, a friend of mine had to tell me how to say it so I could sound like I knew what I was talking about. Scrolling down. I'm still scrolling to make sure I've got all the comments. Let's see. I use gouache white on top of my watercolors. It's more opaque. Yeah, definitely. And gouache is watercolor, just opaque watercolor. So that may be something I'm going to test. I definitely need to do some tests on what I like better, for sure. I've used Bombay White Indie ink for my white highlights on watercolor. Has worked for me. Good to know. Alana said, talking about wine, how Stabby cooked. Did she get her dog? She did. I don't know if she's keeping that dog. She was stressed out. I haven't talked to her in a bit, so I'm not sure how she's doing right now. The bleed-proof white is very opaque and can be printed over once dry without bleeding into the other color. Okay, that's pretty. I'm going to need to get that for sure. That's the best paint scraper. Where to buy it? This is just a regular glass scraper. That's all it is. There's a razor blade, so get a separate pack of razor blades. You'll change that out, and it's just your normal, like Amazon. That's I use the same thing for cleaning the glass on my Dart Frog tank. You just scrape the sides out. Derwent Lightfast. Do the Derwent Lightfast break easily? More easily than polychromals? Not as easily as Prismacolor. Nothing breaks as easily as Prismacolor. Joseph says the metal filler used in gold paints is usually a brass derivative too, so it tarnishes as well. Interesting. Tell me what airbrush to buy. I already returned 2 airbrushes from Amazon. Step 1, stop buying from Amazon. Or stop buying airbrushes. anti-Amazon. But go to my website, lachri.com, and under supplies, go to acrylics, go down. There's my whole list, and you can get them on Amazon, of my Grex airbrushes. That's what I recommend. I really like them. Okay, scrolling, trying to get through the questions really quick. Drawing Girl said, did you know that there's a very rare polychromos colored pencil called Light Violet? I don't want rare. I won't do rare because if I can't get it again, what was the point? So yeah, rare is not for me. I'm using a combination of glazing medium and water here. And see how it'll still, the black still makes those areas darker, but it's tinted now. It's so pretty. Off the flower, Lisa. See, this is why I do the backgrounds first. If I get a little on the flower, no biggie. Haven't painted him yet. I mean, not the color. Now, I do want to get my brush strokes out, so I can come back through with a mop brush and just go right over that. You sure know what you're saying is pronounced correctly? Well, that's how I was told by somebody who's an actual watercolor artist who knows what she's talking about. So if she's wrong, let me know. I'll give her a hard time. Can always be fun. She told me before I asked because she said it annoys her when people say it wrong. I don't know. So she spelled it out phonetically for me. I like saying phonetically because it makes it sound like I know big words. I'm going to throw some that in, the green in there, let those kind of blend. Now I've got to be careful because this section up here into the blues is starting to dry and it will start lifting if I keep reworking into that. I need to let that dry before if I want to put more colors into that, that needs to dry a bit. See, I'm already starting to get here. And I would rather lift the paint than have that harsh line. And so that's what's going to happen because that was starting to dry. So I've got to work a little bit faster here. And that is one of the things that I do not like with glazing medium. That is drying way faster. Take some water. Drying way faster on me than what I want. So work that line out. I do not want that there. Okay, paint faster. I've got a bunch of water in here now too, so it's really thin, too thin. If it starts running like you just saw happen, that's how you know it's too thin. Now I can put another glaze over this later. That's not a problem. So if I'm like, wow, I wish I had more green or I wish I had another color in there, no biggie, I can come back over. But the problem is if I keep reworking this area, I'm trying to work out where I had that messed up line. See right there, it's just gonna make it worse. So I need to take a stiff brush because right now I'm in troubleshooting mode of just fix that line, get out of there. There we go. Lori said, selling my first colored pencil piece, yay, pricing. Do I include the cost for each pencil used even if I didn't use the entire pencil? No, I don't figure my prices that way. I mean, you need to cover the cost of your supplies, but I don't sit there and like add up every time I paint, like how many pencils did I, like no, figure out for this size piece about how many pencils do you use. I'm not gonna sit and count how many colors. I'm not gonna count, I mean, I know, let's say I used $15 in colored pencils on a 11 by 14. I'm making that number up. I don't actually know. I would not by any sense, like I would not be charging for the individual pencils used. I think that that's getting a little bit over the top on the pricing there. I would just figure out like a general, this is how much I charge for 11 by 14s. This is how much I charge for this size, not like this is how many pencils I used, if that makes sense. Okay. Now, if I get this blended onto the flower like I have, I don't really care on the base there, but all I want to do, well, it's still wet. erase it. But you have to do that while it's still wet. Doesn't really matter if it's on that part, but I don't really want to write in here too much. Actually, considering how I'm going to do this, it doesn't really matter. But if you do want to remove it, this is how. Just a clean brush with water. And it works like an eraser. But you have to do that while it's still wet. Once it dries, that's not coming off. The blue doesn't bug me so much. I'm not loving where I got green where I blended over it. So I'm going to dry this. I'm going to put another layer over that. But I definitely want to dry it first because I'm having where it's already drying on its own and I'm getting brush strokes that like where it's starting to dry and then I put another bit of wet and it lifted the previous layer. So that's why you need to paint fast. Now this next time through isn't as big of a deal because I already have color on there. If I don't go all the way up to the rose, it's not really going to be noticeable. So I'm going to use the hairdryer on this. Daniela, the white pencil is linked. It should be linked in the video description. It is the General's Charcoal White. Now you want to make sure that is completely dry before you go over it. Otherwise, when you go on top with your next layer, it'll lift some of the previous layer. So definitely something to be aware of. So we need this to cool. Am I still planning on doing giveaways of my art during the live stream? Absolutely. I need to get some more of the watercolor canvas board. This is still sticky. That is not quite dry yet. I definitely need to get some more of the watercolor canvas board so that I keep forgetting to contact Fredericks. But yes, I am planning to do that still. Daniela said, do you have a specific makeup brush you use for a mop brush? All the mop brushes I use shed ridiculous amounts. My favorite is this one. It is Real Techniques. I don't know if you can see that. The Real Techniques blush brush. And see how it's real poofy at the end? Some blush brushes are like kind of shaped tiny and like that. This one, you want the poofy type. This one's wet right now. But you want the poofier one like this one. I should have it linked on my supply list on my website. Okay. Ramya said, the Grex airbrush is very expensive. Can you please suggest anything not very expensive? Did you not just tell me that you've been buying airbrushes and returning them on Amazon? So you've already tried the cheap crap, which you know now what I've said before doesn't work. You're going to have to pay for quality. I don't know why people, and I see this all the time in different groups, like for the frog groups or whatever, like, can someone suggest, or the saltwater group especially, can someone suggest a good, cheap fill in the blank? No, because it doesn't exist. There is a reason you're paying more. Yes, I get it. It costs more. Save up longer. I would rather see you with an out an airbrush for the next 6 months while you saved up the necessary money to get quality than continuously throw your money away buying crap trying to save money. You're not saving any money. No money has been saved because you have no airbrush right now and you've spent money. No airbrush, spent money, saved nothing. It makes no sense. Think that through. That sounds really harsh, but it's something that gets brought up all the time. I need a cheap version of what? Yeah, it won't work. Well, it'll work, kinda. If you want quality, you're gonna have to save up a little bit longer. Right? It's almost like trying to think how to word this in a not me going off in a rant way, but the rant's gonna happen. We live in this society that tells us, but I want it now. I shouldn't have to wait. Just charge it. That's one of my favorites. No, save up. Save up and buy the thing that you really need. Save up and get the quality that you're not having to replace constantly or send back because it doesn't work. There is no quality but cheap. that it's not a thing. If you're going to get into airbrushing, you're going to spend about $500 to get the full setup. Yeah, you can do a little bit less if you want with an Iwata airbrush. You still have to get the compressor. You're still looking at around that stage for the paints and the airbrush and the compressor and the hoses. And I don't know. There's a reason you have to keep sending back the crap you keep buying, because you keep buying cheap crap. You're going to have to spend more to get quality, which means you're going to have to save more, which means you're going to have to wait, which is worth it. Trust me, it is so worth it. I want to encourage you to buy the good stuff, whether that be your acrylic paints, your colored pencils. Save up and get the better quality stuff. If you keep buying the cheap stuff, you're going to keep buying cheap stuff. So anyway, sorry, rant. It's just, I see this all the time, and you just told me you keep having to return it because you're sick of the cheap stuff. You answered your own question. Like, there's no reason, you're not benefiting from trying to save. It's just, it's not a thing. You're going to have to save up a little bit and get the good stuff. It's worth it. Trust me, it is worth it. But I mean, I can give you other brands that are good, but it's all going to be about the same. You're going to spend, to get started with airbrush, most people spend about $500. Iwata is a great brand. Tamiya is a good brand. I'm trying to think of some others. Badger, some Badgers are good, some are really crappy. Grex is good, but you're all going to look at it about the same. You're not going to get some discount budget and expect quality. It's not a thing. Let's see. Jacqueline said, I bought a whole set of makeup brushes, but it doesn't smooth much. So a few things with the brushes. This brush I have, the bristles, I love. The handle is too heavy. You want something that, this one is a much lighter weight one. The handle's not as long. You want as long of a handle as you can find and as lightweight of a handle as you can find, because you want to make that work right. You just barely, you're going to hold it at the back. You're going to keep a very loose hand and just barely let the tip of the bristles touch that canvas. Barely. If you push hard, or if this picks up a lot of paint, so let's say this was too wet and you use this, this gets wet, you start creating streaks. So those are a few things that can make a difference for you. Yes, I'm going to paint the rose too. I'm going to go with a kind of a blush color on that. But actually, let me rush through this really quick. What company carries that airbrush? Grex is its own brand. You can get it at Amazon. You can get it at Blick. You can get it at hobby stores. I'm trying to think where else I've seen it. Those are the main places I've seen it. Angelique said, I started my online graphics art degree just watching while I read, boring the school syllabus. I want to paint. The work before school rule in my head is helping me get my SI. Nice. Alex said, how is my saltwater tank? It's doing good. They're good. I'm kind of playing around right now and watching closely. I removed a part because I think it might be better, but it makes me nervous because it's like, it's been running the one way for a while, but I'm having problems with my water level. And so I removed this little, I'm watching it, but no, they're doing good. I should hopefully within the next few weeks start getting the bigger setup for those guys. So that tank will have to cycle and all of that before the clownfish get to move into a bigger house. But no, they're all doing good. My mushrooms and my green star polyps, those corals are doing beautifully. I mean, they're green star polyps and mushrooms. They typically do pretty well anyway. But yeah, everybody is good there. I did lose my beta though. That's my sad story from this week. My beta. So my beta, the one that I got him, when did I get him? In the fall or late summer, right around maybe I don't remember when I got him. But he, about, I want to say 2 months ago, he got a like growth under his gills, like right where they meet. And it was during the time one of the snails had got stuck under the filter. And I think that's how he had died under there. I didn't catch it. So, because the filter doesn't have to be changed out every time I do a water change, so I just didn't notice it. Well, the beta got that growth, and so I was like, well, maybe the water quality was dirty because that snail had been in there for some time before I caught that. And so I did a bunch of water changes, and he ended up, it looked like like an abscess or a growth, like it burst, and then it was fine, and he was doing fine. I didn't have to medicate or anything. It was just whatever it was, kind of treated itself. I watched it over the period of a couple of days. He kept eating. He was acting normal. So, was watching that. And then this week, it was it Sunday night or Monday night? he was looking off. Color, like he was all faded. He was eating, but he wasn't swimming, like he was weak, and he was breathing really heavy, but through his gills, not like up at the surface trying to breathe. So I did a water change just in case. I don't know why. I mean, I do water changes all the time anyway, but I thought, well, maybe that's caused me. I don't know. That's kind of your go-to solution anyway for everything is, we'll try water change. So I tried that. No improvement. And the snails have been fine. So, and the water quality, I tested the water quality was fine. But then you start panicking, like, what if a chemical got in there accidentally, or like soap, who knows? What if something happened? So I did the water change, no improvement. And within, so I'm talking to my friend who is the importer of betas, and we're like kind of troubleshooting like what to do. And it's like, you can't just start throwing chemicals in the water or medications because you don't know what's causing it at this point. I'm thinking maybe it was bloat. I don't know. And within less than 24 hours of showing the first symptoms of being off, he was gone. So I wonder if whatever the growth was, the tumor thing or whatever was on his chin, I'm wondering if he had something internally and that was the thing, because it couldn't have been a parasite wouldn't have taken him out that quickly. He didn't have any signs of parasites, but like even internal wouldn't have been, that doesn't happen that quick. So went through every troubleshooting thing to try to figure out, because I don't want to have the same thing happen again, obviously. So yeah, very sad, kind of depressing, but I already picked out my new Ben. He will be here probably in a few weeks. We're going to let the tank, I'm watching to make sure the snails are okay before I have them shipped, because just in case, like just make sure that then the snails have been fine. Snails are fairly sensitive. So if there was a problem with and like I said, I've tested the water, and that's coming out fine. But yeah, if there was a problem there, they should be affected. But so far, they've been completely fine. Eating, everything's good with them. I have 2 mystery snails with them. So yeah, water quality has been fine this whole time. All I can think of is that he probably had something internal go on. So yeah, Ben, my next Ben will be here soon. So that I have no problem with saltwater fish, but betas I'm having my issues with. And I know I'm going to have people watch this and give me a million tips. Trust me, I've researched this. I talk with people who import them a lot. Like, I'm not uneducated in this. My tank is 2 years old. It's very well established. It's a planted aquarium, very natural, very, doing the water. Everything's good there. Testing the water. So it's not like, I'm not somebody who's just keeping him in a bowl and expecting him to live happily there. But yeah, so that was unfortunate. Like, I'm sad, because I didn't get him to stay. I mean, it wasn't, I didn't have him very long before he had the initial abscess thing, a few months, and then now that. So yeah, that's my sad pet story. But I'm looking on the positive. My frogs are all healthy. Dogs are healthy. All my saltwater fish are healthy. Just the betas are a thing. Let's see. Angelique said, assignment's done. Congratulations. Nice. Yeah, Mike may be onto something as far as maybe looking at pawn shops to see if you can get a used airbrush. You need to know the brand. So I would still, like I said, Iwata, Grex, Tamiya, those are good. I know those are good brands. And you may talk to like Coast Airbrush in California, or in Anaheim, if you go to coastairbrush.com, they may be able to tell you other brands that they recommend, but those are the ones that are good. But again, if you get them new, you're paying for it. So know what brands you get before you go to a pawn shop, because I don't think you can return them for full price if you got crap there too, trying to save money. Let's see. Leah said, question, high gloss varnish or matte varnish? I prefer high gloss, like hands down. It makes the paint look shiny and wet again, and it's beautiful. I love high gloss, but some people prefer matte. So that is completely personal choice, not one way or another. Or like there's no right or wrong. It's what you prefer. Ramya said, thanks, Lisa. Thank you. I will definitely say for an airbrush. Oh, good. That makes me happy. Like I got goosebumps for you, because that's like, seriously, I'm a dork. That is what it's so worth it. It is so worth it to get something that's good than to try to fight with, like, that's the thing with me. I don't want to fight with my art supplies, and I don't want to waste money. That was one of my biggest complaints with Prismacolor. I felt like I was throwing money away because the pencils kept breaking and I keep having to resharpen them, and now I'm wasting more pencils, and it's like, I don't want to fight with the supplies and I don't want to waste money. I did that starving artist thing for so long, and I did not have the money to be continuously having to replace pencils because they had an attitude. So I need to I need to clean this off a little bit better because I don't want to, but well, actually a little bit of blue won't hurt. But yeah, it's, trust me, it is so worth it to just save, wait, and get the better stuff. I do not like fighting with my supplies. Michael's used to have a lot of airbrush stuff in my local shop, but that was years ago, so I don't know if they sell it. No, okay, good point. Lynn is correct there. Michael's, I don't know if they still do. I know that Hobby Lobby did, and you could use a 40% coupon. So you could save on get an air compressor 1 week, the next week get the airbrush with a 40% coupon. That might work out. You'll have to check the prices there. So that might be a good way to look too. Let's see. You're welcome, Visions of the Heart. Thank you so much for your gold paint help. It's funny that you had brought that up today because I was just looking into this today because I'm like, I really want to use more gold paint, and I got that answer. It's like, ooh, I guess I'm not going to keep using gold paint unless it's just for me. Let's see. Watching you use the glaze, it's very satisfying. Nice. Does Glazing Medium have a strong odor? I don't think it has an odor. You know what? You know how many times somebody has asked me if something smells and I stick my nose right in it and I regret it? I'm like, whoa, I'm going to pass out now. No, it doesn't. A little bit, not much. Actually, it smells kind of good. I'm going to smell that again. That one's not too bad. Lynn said, betas are pretty fishes. I'm starting a mini koi goldfish thing tank. Nice. Yeah, the new Ben, I'm naming all my betas, will just forever be named Ben. And my friend Ben, who they're named after, he's the one who imports them. He's naming his personal, he has 2. So Ben 1 is now moved on. He's got Ben 2 and Ben 3, and I'll be getting Ben 4. He's kind of a lavender pink with some blues. He's very pretty. He's a Dumbo. He's a placotte, half moon placotte. So the short tail, but he's got the Dumbo, the big side fins that are white. He's really pretty. So he should, I mean, it's frustrating with the little ones because it's not like you can take it to the vet and find out. And I do, because he had that one growth, it does lead me to think that it was something internal. I need a smaller brush, and none of these are what I'm looking for. Yeah, you'll work. No, you won't work. What I want, so like the brush I picked up that I thought would work, this one is a flat. The problem with the flat, actually that's too small. I can go with a bigger one. The problem with the flat is with the flat brushes, you have very harsh start and stop points. Whereas with the Taklon or the Filbert, which is more rounded, you can easily soften out the start and stop points that you can't do as easily on a flat. So there is a time and a place that I love flats, but this is not it. So I'm going to mix a little bit of deep magenta, or deep violet, I'm sorry, with some of my red oxide. I think this should give me a pretty kind of blush color. I don't know. We'll find out. Oh, that's too much. Is this? Yeah, you guys can see. That's a little bit more than what I wanted. So what I'm going to do is kind of mix the color that I want. We're getting closer. Let's throw some Rossiana in there and see what happens. I think I want more deep violet. So once I mix the color, if I were to just take this, even though it has glazing medium and water mixed in with it, it's going to be too opaque. I've got too much paint. So I'm going to rinse my brush off now that I've mixed. And some people will mix with a palette knife. I don't like doing that. I feel like I mix way too much paint and I don't have as much control to get the right color that I want. So it's not a good method for me. But now I'm going to reload that with glazing medium and my paint that I mixed. Oh, I like it. That is pretty. I am happy with that color. Oh my gosh. Yay. It's really, really muted. I'm going to do this in a couple of coats. I would rather go too light and build up to the shade that I want, the values, than go too dark. Too dark's going to be a lot harder to correct. So, and because I'm doing this with a glazing medium, that's one of the benefits of glazing medium is it's very thick. And so the way the light refracts through it it's just very striking. So, did I say striking? I don't know why I can't pronounce anything right tonight. I took a nap. I shouldn't be this tired. And you could get crazy. You could make each petal. This would be a good way. I'm sure you've seen those paintings where people will do each petal. Oh, this is more saturated than it's showing on the video. But where people will make like each petal a different color of the rainbow. This would be a very good, very easy method to do that, where you can paint each petal a different color. So we're going to make that a bit more defined. We'll just go ahead and get those in there. Let's get rid of some of these. Oh, that is wet. Wet brushes do not, oh, that's actually just dirty with paint. That does not work. Okay. Let's dry that. Let's clean that brush. I think that one's going to have to use that fancy brush cleaner later. I did not dry that after the last time I used, or wash it after the last time I used it. Oh, most of that came out. Okay, let's dry this. Put another coat. See what I mean by I was like, there's no way I'm going to drag just the glazing portion out for 2 hours because it's so fast. Okay, that needs to cool, and I'm going to do that again. I think I'm going to use a little bit more magenta on it. Oh my gosh, it's so cute. Oh, I really wouldn't show. Both the little frogs are sitting on, looking out on their dish in the background, or in their food dish. Out of coffee. Point is, they're sitting side by side, and it's adorable. Let's see. Monica said, Ma said hi. She made sure she was out of the hospital in time to see her baby girl. Oh, she's okay. Her blood pressure level goes down at the end of the month, but for now she's stable and happy with cake. Yay, cake. I've taught you well. Give her a hug for me. I'm glad she's doing good. I'm glad she has cake. That's the important part. It makes everything better. Ellie for Dream said, have you used, I can't even say it, Farber pencils? If yes, what are your thoughts? I've never even heard of them, so no. Using them now, but will replace with polychromos. No, I don't know anything about those. Yeah, that's still a little bit wet. What do I use to varnish? I use Liquitex High Gloss Varnish is my favorite. Just scrolling. Canner, should you mount and add a matte varnish to a graphite drawing to reduce the glare? Canner, should you mount? I mean, I matte. I don't personally matte or mount the work usually. Matte varnish, you can, and it can help a little bit. It's a good idea to varnish graphite because graphite has it'll reduce the likeliness of it, or likelihood of it smudging if someone rubbed their hand across it. I mean, it's not as solid as paint would be. You could still smudge it, but I mean, it's a good idea. It does reduce, the matte varnish does reduce some of the glare from graphite, so that is a bonus, but it doesn't reduce as much as I think a lot of people expect it to. But it is a good idea. Just practice, because it's really easy to go too heavy and you don't want to ruin a graphite piece because you went too heavy with the varnish. So be very careful on it, or with that. I'm just waiting for this to cool. I've got to go over it. Okay. Should be okay. I guess we'll find out, huh? So I'm going to go a little bit more color saturation on this one. I really like that red oxide mixed with the deep violet. That's giving me a pretty color. So again, I'm going to rinse out my brush now that I've mixed the color that I want. I'm going to go ahead and rinse that. And then reload. So it's the diluted version. Now I can come back through with highlights too. I don't have to just leave it with this. Or I could do transparent mixing white for highlights too. That's another option. So it won't be as opaque, but it would lighten things up just a bit. See, I find when I use just water to glaze too, it's not as streaky. I get more streaks when I use Glazing Medium. That is like super pink on mine compared to what you guys are seeing. Let me see if I can fix the color saturation. I think that was when I desaturated it. The background color looks accurate. It's just that no, that's not helping that much. the color looks really like, no, this, nope, wrong one. Just want to see if I can get that a little bit more like what I'm seeing. Too much. Yeah, that looks more accurate. My hand looks crazy, but that looks like what I'm seeing. That looks better. Okay, so we need that to dry again. Let's throw some highlights on there. For the graphite drawing, hands down, in that case, I would go with a matte drawing because I want my graphite. I don't like the shiny on the graphite, so matte for sure. Yeah, Joseph has been learning this the hard way. He's been doing live streaming lately. He goes, live cams, you have to choose. Do you want your reds off color or your yellows? You can't have both right. So true. Daniela said, will you ever do another lion in colored pencil? Oh, I'm sure I will. Thinking about doing one, but will be my first time doing fur. I know we need to fail to learn, but so much better when it turns out. Yeah, definitely. I'm sure I will. I'm not sure when, but yeah, I'm sure I will. Ooh, wait, somebody's talking over there. Okay, let's go ahead and start pulling some of these highlights. Let's try transparent mixing white first and see if we like how that looks. Yeah, I think that'll work for me. We'll see. Because I don't even really have to blend it much. I just want to pull a few more of these lights out. I'll probably do some titanium white just in a few areas, but overall, I think most of the areas I want to lighten back up, I'll stick with this. And I can pretty much dry brush on this canvas because it's so smooth without it looking all bumpy like dry brushing. For the matte varnish for graphite, I've used Krylon, but I don't know that I would say that's the one I would recommend. It's just what they had at the art supply store locally. I've been told there are better brands. I just haven't tried them, so I can't really tell you which one they are. I have not put the effort into getting them. But I've used Krylon and it was fine. Gibson, stop that. Seriously, do you see? He stopped what he was doing. He was licking his chops and opening and closing his mouth over and over again. He's bored. He wants up and thinks he's going to get a treat. So anyway, I just told him to stop and he stops. Wade is like, I'm going to ignore you. Wade is so much more stubborn than Gibson. Gibson definitely has more of a desire to please me than Wade. Wade is more like your typical sight hound, very stubborn, where you're like, he has to know I'm serious, or he's like, nah, I'm going to keep doing what I want. Thanks, Kim. Do I know a substitute for Gambar? I do not, unfortunately. Can you mix the transparent white with the titanium white for an in-between opacity? Yes, you can, and I've done that many times. But that definitely does work. Those little frogs chirping make me, it's like the happiest sound. One of the best additions I could have added to the studio. For the matte varnish, oh, well, if it's graphite, you don't want to paint. You cannot paint anything on graphite. You will smudge the heck out of it. There's no way through that. It is a spray varnish that I use for graphite. If I'm varnishing over a painting, I prefer to brush when possible, but sometimes I may have to, like if I have a white background, I have to use a spray varnish because the smudge, like just a little bit of like if there was a flower I recently did that was pinks and reds up against a white background, that pink and red would have smudged when I varnished it for at least the first layer of varnish. So then I have to use a spray varnish because you would notice that over a white background. On this, if there was a little smudge, you can't tell. So it depends on what I'm doing there. Can I paint my frogs in a future live stream? Well, I've painted red-eyed tree frogs in several lately. The dart frogs are a little harder because they're so tiny. They're hard to, well, Cletus hides. He's just really hard to, like, I don't see him out right now. Oh, maybe I do see him out. As soon as I move, he hides. So I've never gotten a really good photo of Cletus, not one that I could paint from. So, but the other ones, the ones in this tank, those guys come out a lot. So I need to get a good photo, but they're so tiny. I need to use a macro lens. Like they're like, I'm not joking when I say they're the size of my thumbnail. The biggest one is the size of my thumbnail. The other two are smaller. So real little. When I get the other dart frogs, the Leucomellas, those ones, the bumblebee ones, they are bigger, so they'll be a little bit easier to photograph if they don't hide too much. Hopefully I've set up their future habitat in a way that they feel really secure. Okay. My stomach is growling. I don't know if that's picking up. Oops, I should glaze some green while I'm at it over here for the stem. Let's rinse that brush out. And then I want to come back through with some titanium white highlights that are more opaque. So this is the thing with titanium white. You're not going to use it. You're not glazing with it. It is too bright. So I'm going to use this for these really bright highlights that I want to make stand out. But I've got to be careful because I'm not glazing. Anywhere I put this, what's underneath is really not going to show up. It is the Santa Isabel dart frogs that are making the chirping right now. Teeny tiny little guys with a big chirp. So cute. So you just have to remember with this one, we're not trying to hide everything. You're just picking out your brightest highlights. This will help add a lot of dimension to the piece too, having these really bold whites. You just don't want to overdo it. I mean, okay, worst case scenario, you overdo it, just glaze over it. So don't like freak out thinking, oh my gosh, I don't want to mess up. You can fix it, but it's easier if we don't. So here I'm using a flat brush and I'm just holding it to the side so it works more like a round or a liner brush. Make sure those edges stay nice and clean. Now the reference photo, that is blurred and out of focus. We're not doing that on this one. I mean, you can, I'm not. I feed the frogs. These guys get wingless fruit flies, so it makes it easy. They can't get away. For when I get the Leucomellas, they will need a different type of fruit fly. They're flightless, but they still have wings. They're a larger version because they are a bigger frog. And then my brain shut down. The red-eyed tree frogs get crickets. Actually, I have a new batch of crickets coming in tomorrow, so I need to clean that tank again. I normally clean the cricket cage on Fridays, but with the new batch coming in tomorrow, I'm just going to clean it all tomorrow. Yeah, but the dart frogs are too small. They can't do crickets. Priscilla said, a surreal collage piece with all of your critters, and it would be an interesting piece, even though it would probably be too long for live stream. Still would be neat to see. It would. The parts that would get harder to include would be the dogs, because dogs, I mean, that takes a lot longer to paint. But I've thought about doing that maybe with the fish and the frogs. That would be more manageable, I think. Just because the dogs themselves would take like a month to finish one of those dogs in any medium, really, on a live stream. So I would kind of rather not do that. I mean, you've seen when I've done some of like the cat or whatever, we spent, God, like a week or a month on that. Just on one subject. So they are definitely more time consuming. But maybe the fish and the frogs. Maybe the birds. I'm trying to think. I think ours would be easy enough to at least get their heads, maybe. Or maybe the birds could just have their own. I don't know. I need to spend some time one of these days and get good reference photos. Most of my photos are chicken singing to my foot, which isn't, while it would be an accurate representation of him, it would not be the perfect portrait. But I think the frogs and the fish especially would make for a really cool painting. Almost done. However, please don't, Joyce says, don't take offense. Anytime someone starts out with don't take offense, you know you probably should just not say the thing you're about to say. Don't take offense. Your hard work or watching a live or any lesson as a viewer who wants to learn the process and hear your thoughts as you're writing is very distracting. To hear response from comments, just an FYI. I've said this all the time. I say this again and again and again. So no offense. It's a hangout. It's an artist hangout. If you just want the art lessons, I've got that for you. That is Patreon. Those are just the straightforward lesson. These are artist hangouts where we chat while we art. It's something different. I mean, I have lots and lots and lots of just straight out lessons. That is not what these live streams are. I mean, I know you weren't here from the beginning, but I always announce that at the beginning because I will inevitably have somebody who complains that I talk too much and they don't care about that. That's not what this is. If you want just a straight out tutorial, then the Patreon is going to be a better fit for you. Believe this, many in the comments just want a response from you to hear their names on YouTube. Fine, that's what this is. It's a fun hangout. I'm okay with that. This is a chance, like, I don't have a time to respond to everyone's emails or everyone's comments. That's what these live streams are. This is a chance that I get to connect with people. I have videos that are straight tutorials. This is just something different. Like, I can't make everybody happy. I guess that's the end of that statement. I can't make everybody happy. This is not a straight lesson. That is why I announced that at the beginning of these now. I mean, I get what you're saying, but that's not what this video is. I have lessons, and Patreon is going to be the longer ones if you don't want the shorter, sped up ones on YouTube. But these are artist hangouts where we get to chat. And, you know, like I said, I don't have time to respond to emails. This is my time to connect with everybody and hang out and have fun. I mean, there's no way. And if I go to the other method, I will have people complain about that. I can't make everybody happy. So I have Patreon, where it makes some people happy. I have these that make other people happy. Some people are happy with both. Let's see. Lynn, say my name. Lynn, I know your name. I can say your name. Let's see. Beauty and the Beast vibes. It kind of does. Oh, that makes me like it even more now. I wanted to put this in my bedroom, but I think I went a little bit bold on the color saturation for what I was thinking. I just started having fun with colors that I thought were pretty, so I don't know where this will end up. I'm just doing a few last touch-ups on highlights here. It makes such a difference, these little highlights. Mike says, I don't want to hear my name anywhere. I'm here because it's fun. I joined the Patreon for lessons. There you go. You got my name anyway. Also, this brush is super, the paint is all falling off of it. And I have never stuck this. This, I think, was a Princeton brush. And it is making a mess. It is just like chipping off. Let's see. Dr. Joyce Marino, what WTH cares about feeding frogs? Why isn't that person paying attention or asking questions as you're writing that beautiful rose? I'm painting. I've been watching painting videos in many languages. We talk about that's what this is. Like, this is we chat. I say this at the beginning of all of these live streams. We're hanging out, we're chatting. I love that you're bringing this up because it's inevitable. Like, I tell people this happens. I think people don't realize how often it happens where somebody's like, this video isn't what I want. Then it's not the video. It's not the right fit for you. I've got Patreon. I've got edited videos, edited content that I think are a better fit for you. This is a artist hangout. And I can't, like I said, I can't make everybody happy and I'm not going to try. Well, I guess I do try because that's what Patreon's for. I've got actual long, real-time or very slowed down art lessons over there if that's what you're looking for, where I'm not telling you about my frogs. These videos are just an open chat. We're artists who are hanging out. We're all painting. Some are painting along with me. Some are painting something else. Sometimes I'm rambling because I'm waiting for paint to dry, and that happens to be the thing that crossed my mind. Like, why? Of course people are interested in what I feed the frogs. That's a normal question. Like, I would ask that. That's, let's see. Cindy said, you be you. We love your dogs, frogs, fish, etc. Next time I will paint with you. Yay! Let's see. Oh, thank you, Leah. Let's see. I like these hangouts because we discuss different topics with flow organically. I like how you word that. I should use that in my description. We have organic word flow. Dee said, if they don't like it, go somewhere else. Most of us love chatting with you. Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. You know, I get it, and I've had a few people will comment. Inevitably, I'll have at least one person who complains that they want too much talking and they just want the lesson, and I understand that. But that's why I've changed the title of these to say Artist Hangout. We're painting, but it's an artist. Like, you can follow along, you can learn some stuff, and we can chat and hang out at the same time. It makes it's something a little bit different than your typical, like what my other lessons are. I mean, why would I make this what my Patreon videos are when I already have Patreon? Like, I have a new lesson every single week. It doesn't make sense for me. Like, I would go insane if I just was sitting here doing another Patreon lesson, essentially, you know, just straight out art lesson. I have those, and I have a lot of those. That's the other thing. Like, my Patreon library is quite extensive. It's not like I don't have a lot there that you can watch and follow, you know, just the lessons. So I can offer multiple things. Well, apparently some people don't think I can, but I can, or I do, I will, whatever. So yeah, and just, you know, life lesson, if you start out saying no offense, that's when it's time to stop. I always like that because it's one of those things that you know is going to follow up with something that is going to give offense. Like, why would you say no? What that saying, it just cracks me up. LA for dreams. At least I appreciate your answers and every second with you in the lives. Don't care if you say my name ever. Much love. Oh, thank you. See, Joyce, you are not you're making a whole lot of assumptions about what viewers are thinking and feeling, and it's weird that you're projecting that. Like, if you make a comment, are you not now just doing the same complaining? You're getting recognitions for complaining. Like, I'm not sure what you, complaining is different from somebody else who's asking questions and keeping the conversation interesting. Although you are making this interesting. I'm not going to complain about that because it's always fun to have something to rant about, but or to talk about or whatever. But I don't know. Are you not doing the same thing right now that they are? What's the difference of you picking apart how I have chosen to do these live streams from somebody who's having a genuine conversation and we're getting to know each other? You're making some weird projections on their intentions. That is very odd. Like, need some self-reflection going on there. I mean, I want everyone to enjoy the videos and the time, but it's very weird, I think, when you jump on what other people are telling you they enjoy stuff and you're saying that they aren't, and it's an odd assumption to me. But like I said, I've got an alternative. I have straight out art lessons that aren't chats. Chats are fun for some of us. Let's see. Good morning, Azhar from India. I guess I should reword that as good evening from Texas. My brain like totally skipped on what country I lived in. It's like the United States, America, what? We'll just say Texas. Let's see. Scrolling down. Kelly said, thank you for doing the artist hangout. Really appreciate you taking the time to do this. Oh, thank you for watching. Thank you for hanging out. I think these are fun. I really enjoy these. Like, I actually look forward to them because it's like hang out with friends, all of us. And that's the thing too. So many of us are trapped at home right now. I mean, we're not in the easiest of times, and it's fun to hang out with and chat with other people who share interests with you. So, I really enjoy that you guys are hanging out with me. Angela said, forget to ask, how large is this board canvas? Oh, good question. It is an 8x10. Daniela said, can other paints be used with Liquitex pouring medium like Heavy Body or the Liquitex Basics? Liquitex Basics, I don't really like either choice. I would go with Heavy Bodied over Liquitex Basics. Liquitex Basics are not pigmented enough to really... It gives you a very different effect. They're too translucent for that effect, because when you use so much pouring medium, and if you use a paint that isn't super pigmented, when you pour it, it's really translucent. Now, if you're doing it in a lot of layers, that could look very cool, but not that you have to use so much Liquitex Basics just to get the pigment to be enough when you thin that out with your pouring medium. So I would not. The Heavy Body, again, you can work with it. It has more pigment, but it's so thick, it's harder to get that. It's just kind of a pain to mix in with the pouring medium. But I would go with Heavy Body and spend the time stirring that and really mixing it in over Liquitex Basics. Zika said, you showed the video of your frog chirping. I fell into terrarium building videos rabbit hole on YouTube and fell in love with the critters. Hi from the UK, by the way. You're awesome. Thank you. Yeah, I've been watching a lot of those vivarium videos. Muhammad said, following you from Iraq. Wow, you are watching far away. Welcome. Susan said, now I have that song, Say My Name, stuck in my head. Margaret says, I learned so much about frogs on your lives. Love it. Daniela said, if it weren't for these chats, I wouldn't be branching out into different mediums. Thank you for letting me pick your brain. See, there we go. Nice. Oh, is it a 9x12? Maybe it is a 9x12. I think it's an 8x10 and I wrote it down wrong. I'm really bad about copy paste and not checking the dimensions on the canvas, so that might be, I think this is an 8x10. Meredith said, first time to your live stream. Been learning from you for a while. I love this chat. Used to breed and show betas. I love frogs. I'm learning and enjoying while I paint. Nice. Thank you. Oh, Alana, thank you so much for the... Alana gave me a super chat for chatting. Oh, thank you. Okay, I'm getting all teary and I'm going to get like all weepy now. Thank you, guys. Angela said, Texas used to be its own country for 8 years. That's why it's called the Lone Star State. Really? I didn't know that. I never really thought about why it was called that. That's interesting. Andrew Jackson promised to annex Texas if they provided volunteers to the Mexican War. They did. He didn't. Whoa. Yeah, and don't mess with Texas. I've seen that. I didn't know where the base of that was. I still have like super chat goosebumps. Thank you, Alana. Adriana said, no offense, love your art and this live stream and how you explain your techniques. Honestly, thank you so much. You inspire. I can also say the country I'm writing you from Mexico and really learned and enjoy all your videos and really appreciate the time and all you've invested to share this knowledge. Oh, thank you. Joe said, enjoying the Hangouts, very comforting and nice to know we all have similar thoughts and always learn so much. Can't wait to give this a go. Thank you. Oh my gosh, Shirley, thank you. Your response to Dr. Troll is awesome. Love your pets. Painting in chat is awesome. Thank you, guys. Oh my gosh, you're going to make me cry. Wow, like goosebumps and tears at the same time. Okay, calming myself down. I don't know why that... do you guys have stuff like that? Like, it just... I get teary. I'm not one that cries super easily, but for some reason, it's like when you're... Not that I'm not feeling well, but like when you don't, at least for me, when I don't feel well, if somebody is nice to me, it makes me cry. Like if I have a cold and somebody is nice, like, oh, you brought me tea and now I'm crying. For some reason, Super Chat is one of those things that does that to me too. Or it's just like, oh my gosh, you're being so nice to me. Thank you, Angela. So I'm just doing edges. I mean, technically I'm done now. I'm just kind of doing some little quickie edges here. This one is a number 4 synthetic hog hair liner brush. The number 4 I really don't buy anymore. They're just a bit bulky. I really prefer the 1, 2s, and 3s on the synthetic hog hair liners. Jay said, tell us about your frogs. I've been enjoying the rambling. Art plus animals 100%. Maybe that's why it's fun. Casual art chat in the video description. Yeah, possibly. Angela, OMG, she said my name. Oh my gosh. Jay said, you will get people asking why everything is off topic, but maybe if you will read the description and hit you up on Patreon instead. Possibly. I mean, you never know. And I try to do the warning at the beginning. I know Nick is always typing that in the video or the comment section too. But I will inevitably always get, usually it's not during the chat. Maybe it is during the chat and the moderators get rid of it faster. Or wait, that came out rude. Like they didn't do it fast enough this time. It was through Facebook. They can't moderate that even if they wanted to. That came out so not how I intended. If they did it faster, I wouldn't have had to see it. No, that's not what I meant. But I mean, usually I think they get rid of it really quickly, and maybe it does happen and I don't see it. But this was through Facebook, so that's how that comment comes through. But I don't, usually it's like after the stream that I get those comments. Oh my gosh, again, LA for dreams. Thank you. 3 times for emphasis. We love your lives. Oh my gosh. Thank you. Oh, no crap. Like seriously, I don't know why that's getting me. Wow, my nose is even starting to run. Oh my gosh. Is it tacky if I use my sleeve on the video to wipe my nose? I'm good. I'm good. Angela, oh my gosh, you guys, Angela, thank you. Wow, you are like, okay, we're good. We're good. Yes. Wow. Like goosebumps down my back. And wow, thank you guys so much. Joe said, you deserve the kindness. You are selfless in sharing your knowledge. So appreciate. Thank you so much. And my nose is seriously running now. I blame you guys for this. Tamara said, your hard work is showing and it's nice to get to know you on live chats. That's why I'm sad when I miss them. Aw. Joseph said, actually, you have read a few that we have deleted. You seem to see them. So yeah, and the ones when it's on Facebook, like you guys have no way to get rid of that. And right now it's combining both. So Clark said, no, not at all, sleep away. Susan said, crying at random stuff is how Hallmark makes its dent in the entertainment industry, cards, movies, adverts. You are not alone in the fact. I dare you to say it. No offense, normal. I mean, we need a t-shirt that says no offense. I'm not sure what we'll follow it up with, but we need some no offense merch. Seriously, thank you guys. So I'm going to do a few more dark shadows. We're just about done with this. And this is just glazing with the dark violet color again on areas that I feel were a little bit too light. Now I've shown you, my gosh, my grammar. I've shown you this trick before, but just in case you haven't seen it, I want to, Art by MB, thank you so much. Love hanging out and learning so much about the frogs. You make me want to get one. I recommend dart frogs. They are way easier than the red-eyed tree frogs. Dart frogs are really they're very hardy too, compared to the red-eyed tree frogs, which are ridiculously sensitive. Also, cool thing about the dart frogs, they live a long time. I'm also trying not to cry, so I'm going to ramble about some dart frogs. But they live, like the bigger ones can live like 20 years. My little ones are like 10 to 12 years, but they're long-lived. I recommend them. Okay, so trick for signing your artwork. Seriously, stop running nose. What I want to do, there are two tricks that I have for figuring out where I want my signature. One, I will take the pencil I will write it with, or the end of a paintbrush, hold that and see if it looks better, like balance-wise, if I sign here or if I sign here. I personally like it here better, but like I said, that is personal preference. I could also sign along the stem if I wanted. I mean, there's no rule you have to sign at one corner or another. So what I'm going to do is take that pencil. So if you were to sign your name normal with a normal paintbrush, one of the things that happens is the brush keeps turning and flopping, like it doesn't want to keep its shape. So like a pencil would. So it's very weird to make your name, and you'll get the hang of it, but it will be very weird at first to get your name to look like your signature. So we sign it with a graphite pencil, or a white charcoal pencil, and it looks just like if I signed it like on a piece of paper. Now that I have many, and then the other bonus is if I just signed that and was like, oh, that looks terrible, I should not have done that, I can erase it and go over it. Oh my gosh, guys, Kathleen, thank you. Oh my gosh. She said, you've taught me so much. Contrast, not colors, even encouraged me to make a teal flamingo. Yes, I love that. That's the one you gave me, right? I have a teal him. Thank you so, my gosh, goosebumps are like, wow, thank you guys. I don't know what to say. Maybe I should be thanking Dr. Joyce too. Oh, look, she got me to say her name again. She got you guys going. I'm missing the paintbrush that I want. That is not it. Okay, seriously, I have goosebumps all down my spine right now. There it is. Okay, focus. Wait, who? I'm trying to remember now. My brain shut down. Where is my teal flamingo? I mean, I know where he is. I don't know. I don't remember the signature on it. Now I feel like crap. Was it you? I have a teal flamingo that, and my brain is completely shutting down on who painted him for me. And he's awesome. I'm so bad with names. So now I can go over it with my paintbrush, and I just have to trace what I have, and it will look just like my signature. Now, as you get practice with using the liner brush and signing your name, you will be able to sign this without having to use the white charcoal pencil. But it's a way that in the beginning, when you're having a hard time getting your name to look right, this is the way to do that. Yes, there's I mean, I didn't paint him, but he's amazing. I'll post him. I'll go find him. I'll see if I can find him tomorrow. I have a few paintings that I've got from other artists, some that have been given to me, some that I bought that I need to frame and then hang them. And he's one of them. He's in with them so that he doesn't get damaged until I get that done. So yeah, I need to look up who it is. I'll post them online tomorrow and share with you guys because it's awesome. And then I'll be able to see the name on it because apparently I don't remember. Kathleen said, I'm the one who made it for you. You gave me the courage to even try. Okay, that's good. I was like, wait, it was you. Wait, am I giving credit to the wrong person? Okay, I need to get a good photo of him. I need to find it because I've got a few cool pieces too I want to share. But I need to show you guys. I'll post on Instagram tomorrow and probably MeWe for sure, that painting, the teal flamingo. And it's such a good example of, it's not the color. It still looks like a flamingo. He's teal and he's freaking, well, you know me. teal. I'm gonna love it. He's freaking awesome. So I need to show you guys how awesome that is, because you guys, like, especially on Patreon, you hear me say this all the time, like, I could paint this tiger in purple and it'll still look realistic. It'll just look like a tiger under purple lighting. She did this with that flamingo. So my favorite color and a flamingo, which is amazing. And it shows, it's the values. It still looks realistic. It's just teal. So really, really cool. I need to, like, even thinking about it, I'm getting goosebumps again. Apparently it's goosebump night. At least it's not making me cry right now. So I need to find, where did I put, he's together with my other ones, because I put everything together that needs to be framed so it doesn't get damaged, because I'm so, like, I would freak if anything happened to these ones. So anyway, no, it's not it's the Lachri, the year, and then the Trinity symbol. Like, that's just been my signature for, I've been signing it this way forever. The one difference that you will see occasionally, I will put a dolphin tail if it's a marine piece. The very end of the H, I'll turn into a dolphin tail. But that I just typically do on marine pieces. How do we send you artwork? Contact me, because I was having it sent to the PO box, but I don't get to it often enough. So email me and I'll get you a better address for that. Lisa@lachri.com. And then, okay, other trick with this, I can still see the graphite pencil on here. Do not be tempted to erase this tonight. Wait till tomorrow. And I have made this mistake so many times. I'm like, I dried it with a hairdryer. It's dry enough. I can erase it. White smudge from the eraser. Don't do it. Wait, give it the night, because sometimes one little dot, one little area wasn't quite dry enough and you wouldn't notice until it smudged when you tried to erase it. So just let it dry all the way, like a day, and then you can erase your graphite or your charcoal marks. Okay. Yeah, Angela has my manatee. She bought the one from the live stream, not like, it was this summer or spring. I don't know. When was that? Let's see. We'll go ahead and wrap this up. Some of my less used acrylics keep drying out in the tube. Any suggestions? Does it happen to all? There's certain colors that are more prone, like this green I put out. The Hooker's green did it. My browns do it, where they get, you can't really see there, but they're almost chunky. They're not dried, but they're getting a bit chunky on that. And I just have to thin it down with water to fix that. I don't even buy browns most of the time anymore. I mix it with my red oxide, because that doesn't typically do it. And I go through red oxide faster. I mix that with my black and mix my own browns now. Because those are two colors I use a lot. I use it a lot more than brown. So brown, it was just getting, sometimes you'll buy it new and it'll be like that. So that does occasionally happen. I typically won't buy, like, you can get bigger bottles. Like, here's my titanium white Liquitex, the bigger one, and it's in a jar. If it's not like this color I use enough, I'll go through it fast enough before it starts to dry. But here's the thing, if I don't use this that much, let's say I get to where I'm halfway done, half of that now is air. The bottom half's gonna dry out. So watch, like, getting bigger jars of stuff. Unless you paint really fast and really large, I don't recommend this. I would recommend smaller tubes of things, because it does happen. Okay, thank you guys so much. Let's see. I think that is it. Make sure to check out Nick and Joseph's channels. Links are in the video description. They both do art videos here, and Joseph's even started live streaming, so that's fun too. Nick sometimes live streams, both of them. Lately, it's been a colored pencil thing with these guys. I think that is it. Am I forgetting anything? All my frogs are knocking down my brushes. My frogs are sitting at their little food dish. You can't really see. Hold on. Can you see his butt? That's his butt. He's looking in at the crickets, deciding which one he wants to eat. Very big deal. Very, very important decision. Anyway, thank you guys so much. We are working on, and I kind of lied. Not on purpose, though. So I scheduled the live stream for Friday and said it was going to be leaves and branches. It is not. It is going to be branches and a magnolia. The most gorgeous, I think it's a magnolia. It has purple on it. It says magnolia, but now that I'm thinking about it, I don't know if that's what it is or not. It was just listed as that. Who knows? I don't know a whole lot about tree flowers, so I'm not sure. But it's gorgeous. I've done the line art, and that, while I normally don't provide line art, I am in this case because it's a weird surreal thing. And the reason that I designed most of it before just adding to, like I did on the last collage for colored pencil for those live streams, that branch is so dark. If I put that in an area and need to cover it with something else in colored pencil, you're always going to see that branch through it. And there are certain areas I knew that probably wasn't going to be ideal. So it would have been a lot harder to cover. There are ways, and we'll talk about that Friday, that I could have gotten away with it, but I figured it would be easier just to come up with a design. I did the design last night for all of the main larger subjects or objects. elements, whatever, in that one. And so I'll be posting tomorrow the line art if you want to get the whole thing drawn out. And that's with the frog if you did want to follow along with that one. But Friday we'll be starting, well, not starting because we already have the red-eye tree frog done. We'll be continuing on with that. But it's not just leaves and branches. Like I said, I had the leaves and decided I didn't like them and changed them with this really pretty flower. Came out so much better. Glad I kept messing with that. But anyway, Friday, 1 p.m. is our next live stream where I will be talking about chirping frogs again, I'm sure, and annoying people. So anyway, thank you guys again. Thank you for being here. Thank you for the super chats. Thank you for everything. I will see you guys Friday. Bye. That's the wrong button. I'm still here. Still here.